executive session where no action was taken. Need a motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Odd,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Obermeyer.
Yes. Okay. And then also at this time, we'll take up case 24-2 for cremation.
So moved.
Thank
Second.
you. Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Odd,
Yes.
Obermeyer.
Yes. Thank you. Do you want to pick these back up? You had one in the packet to sign, I believe, did you
Yes,
not?
I have it right here.
Yes.
Through the water.
We
Because I
did.
have got a bunch of stuff.
Oh, sorry.
That's fine.
We've already filed them.
Mhm.
All right.
Thank you.
Moving down, I have not seen Kurt come in yet. Kurt will come in and we'll deal with the Vanguard and the homestead application. So moving down, we have two things: discuss next steps for zoning regulations, and then discuss and act on steering committee for comprehensive plan. Let's take up the discuss and act on steering committee for the comprehensive plan. As we heard a Monday night ago, that it would be a good idea to have a steering committee on that. My views would be that the steering committee would be made up of a couple from this board, a couple from zoning, whether we wanted Nate on it. I did have a little side conversation afterwards with Daniel, wondering if we should have a couple others, maybe smaller communities representation, you know, from that too. I mean, that's completely up to this board to do it. But like I say, I think for sure we want a couple from here, a couple from there. And how big do we want to make it? Too big can be too much. And then if you decide to go with the, you know, like communities, then which communities do you pick? Or
Sure.
do we call 5 enough, have Nate and 2 and 2 do it? Thoughts on that, Jen?
Someone on, one of the two gentlemen that presented that are helping us with stuff.
Well, they'll be running the discussion. This
They
is
will,
just-
okay,
Yep.
just wanted to make sure.
Yep. They will be an integral part of every meeting that we have. This would just be the steering committee made up from taking the views, I guess, like in between them.
I guess my gut tells me we need at least 3 from each board to have enough representation, even representation. I like the idea of adding some people from the smaller communities, but who do you cut off? You can't have it too big. And all of a sudden you're gonna add 6 more people, potentially 7 if you add Gilbert. So
Right.
I think that gets a little cumbersome in what we're trying to accomplish.
If we can say that if they're from the planning and zoning, they can't be from the same spot.
Same community,
Yeah,
but
because they're from different, I mean, just to fix that.
it doesn't fix it though, because you may live outside of Thayer,
Yeah,
do all your
yeah,
business
yeah.
in York, and your kids might have went to school at Utica. I mean, you run into those things.
Yes, you do.
If we go with 3 from each, then it would be, any time that they met would have to be a open meeting, public open meeting.
What's the
Whereas
number of the?
2, it'd be, majority of the board. So if there was 2 from each, then, if they had anytime that committee met would not necessarily have to be published and noticed, et cetera, et cetera. Now, there will be plenty of public meetings that are published, but that's just something to think of as we build this committee on what we want this committee's purpose to do.
If it's 2 from one and 3 from the other,
No.
Then
They have to
whatever
act.
whichever one the 3 was from would need to be
There's 6 on the other one?
5.
There's five on
There's
each.
5.
They'd have to act
That was
under
my
the
question.
open meetings
Yep,
law.
That was my question. I didn't know if there's adhered to the same thing.
Mm-hmm. They would.
I guess I don't see any, timings will be a little more difficult due to the open meetings law, but I think we're talking about such huge issues and setting the direction of our county. I think it'd be foolish to limit the number,
Sure.
not have the right number of people in attendance just due to that. And quite frankly, I think they probably should be public meetings anyways.
That being said, I guess I would say that if we're going to do that and we're gonna publicize as open meetings, then we just do it as the boards. And
Alright.
not limited to anything,
Sure.
just say the boards
I'd be
are
for that
it,
as
you know,
well.
versus saying, trying to pick the 3 or 3 off of that, and then we work. And I'm sure this is something that we can change if we find out that
Right.
that that we need this. You know, the nice part about it is, you know, as we, on our subcommittees, as we discuss stuff via email and different things like that, there's just things we can do with 2 that we can't do with 3. And, you know, we just need to be, but if that's the consensus of this board, I would say that we just ask both boards to be part of
Sure.
part of that, and then run that by Keith, and
Right.
both boards plus, you know, I think Nate needs to be an integral part of this also.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
And so,
Make a motion that the steering committee is derived of both Board of Commissioners as well as the zoning board, and include Nate Hines as the additional member.
okay,
Second.
okay. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Bowman,
Yes.
Ott,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Obermeyer.
Yes. Okay, then next up, discuss next steps as for the zoning regulations. I didn't put this on discuss and act, I just wanted to feel like, where do we think we are at? Did we get any information from that meeting last Monday night where we want to revisit? Do we feel like we want to send back to the zoning board? What's our feelings? I heard some things from Marvin Consulting that makes me want to pause just a little bit and send it back and see if the zoning board agrees with that.
Right.
And is where I'm at on the issue. And maybe the zoning board disagrees and pushes it forward, and then it is up to us to make those changes. But
Right.
I would like them, through the consultation, and I think there was some good questions from that board that night also. In particular, the amount of categories is what really, you know, came up to me. So what do we feel there?
I think we need to kick it back to the board, have them meet as just the zoning board with Marvin in the room so they can address some of those, dig deeper into those categories and how that's looked and laid out, as well as there's some verbiage issues that Marvin brought up that night that I think that they can clean up. What they can look at it maybe a little different and then bring it back to the steering committee as a whole before they even come just directly to us.
Okay. He brought up some good points that
Right,
night.
correct. Yep.
That's
There's,
what happens when you look at it through a different set of eyes and that. Daniel?
yeah, I have no problem. If we want to send it back to the board, I think we have a good document. Is it the document that we want to live and die by? I don't know that it is. And so, I think we've through their process, through our process, we've gotten to a good place, but I think that we can get to a better place if we take a little bit more time and work through it. And I think that the proper way to do that is to go back to the board, let them review it, and then move forward from there.
Okay. Leroy? You in agreement? Okay. At this point in time, then we will make some steps to see that happen. You know, we'll obviously tell Marvin Consulting about our steering committee and this, and relay this information to them. I know that, talking with John after the meeting too, you know, the perception that, you know, like this board's trying to stall, and he said, no, as long as you continue to move and do things to make it better, it shouldn't be perceived that way. So we will take those steps to do that. Any other comment on that at this time? Okay. Okay, can we see if Kurt is here? He was within just a few miles when we came back out of executive session. No?
He's slipping over.
Slipping? Slip sliding away?
Here's the.
Hey, Kurt. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll start with the Vanguard one, please.
Okay.
We'll make you tell us who you are, even though I addressed you.
Kurt Goldgren, York County Assessor. The Vanguard agreements that I have brought to you guys today are they're for the same thing. One's the license agreement, the other one's the service contract for it. This would be an upgrade from what we're currently using right now. This would be called Pro version. This would allow us to do several different things in the office. It would be a lot handier because it would allow us to export data from our Canvas system right into an Excel document. Currently, we have to go through multiple steps to even get any of our data from our Canvas system onto an Excel document. It would just make things a little easier, streamline things. Another reason I'd like to go with this Pro version is because it would allow us to store documents electronically on our system as well, and anything from building permits, FSA maps. The big thing would be the transfer statements, the 521 transfer statements. We get a lot of appraisers that when they do come in the office, I ask them, what's something we can do in our office to make life easier for you? And they said, if you could put these things online somehow, that'd be great. A lot of counties, they do it through their mapping system. They just upload it like they would a picture. This would allow us to do the same thing, but it would, instead of doing it through the photos, we would do it through document management. So it'd be another offering we could offer the public, so folks don't have to drive all the way down from Fremont to look for one or two documents that they're looking for.
So this Pro version is a yearly?
It'd be yearly. We get the bill for that in November for all of our Vanguard stuff. And it would be $925 additional to what we are paying right now. They said that they would prorate us. If you guys were to approve this contract today, they would prorate us, I think, like $312 through the remainder of the year. And then they'd start downloading it as soon as they got the word to do that.
Okay. And is this a budgeted expense out of?
Data processing, and I did include it in the budget.
Okay.
That I proposed.
That was my question.
Okay. And then the other, I've got a license agreement, and then the consolidated extended service contract. Does that change that also then?
It would just, excuse me, it would just update that to reflect
The Pro version?
The Pro version, right.
Okay. And that contract is through, is that a yearly contract?
Yeah, we
Kurt,
get the
or was
billing
it-
for that in November, I believe. It's due in November. So, but it's
But it wasn't a multi-year contract, it was a consolidated, it was
well,
a
it
three-year.
It's a 3-year contract that we get billed annually for.
Okay.
So it'll come due here. We got a couple of years left on it, I think.
Okay,
So,
I think last year was the first year, so
Right.
we've only been with them for a year. So
On
we
that-
have
on that
2
current
more years
contract,
with
right.
them.
right. Okay, questions for Kurt this morning?
Everything work easier together.
yeah, like I said, it's a good offering for the folks that like to look at those 521s, and then it'll just make life easier in the office too, instead of having to go through 15 steps of trying to transfer data. So,
And this was, I do have an email here from the York County Attorney. And it was, he looked over the contract and said everything looks good, so.
So we just need to authorize the chairman to sign the license agreement and the service contract.
Any other questions? What's your wishes then?
Make the motion to approve the signing of the Vanguard contract.
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Bowman,
Yes.
Ott,
Yes.
Groats,
Yes.
Obermeyer.
Yes. Next up, Kurt, we had the late files, and for homestead exemption. My question to Kurt was, should this be a Board of Commissioner action, or should this be, and Daniel and myself had talked about this, Board of Equalization. You had checked with the state, and they say it's fine that the Board of Commissioners deal with this.
Correct, yep. Yep, I think the statute just says the county board. It doesn't say what capacity it is.
Okay, okay. So go ahead and explain these two for us, if you would, please.
Sure, these are just a couple applications that we received after the deadline. And typically, the deadline is June 30th, but with June 30th falling on a Sunday this year, the deadline was extended to July 1st. So I think some of these folks, when they heard July, they thought end of July, not July 1st. So that's part of the reason these came in late. We send the applications out first part of February. So there's a time frame from February to June 30 that the application is going to be filed in our office. Just so you have that time frame in mind. So these came in late, a couple days late. One came in July 2nd, and the other one came in
The 5th.
July 3rd. Well, the application came in July 3rd, and one came in July 2nd, then they brought these letters in afterwards.
Got the 5th on stamped on ours.
That was the day the letter came in. The actual application for that letter from Ms. Jacobson was, the application was filed July 3rd in our office, so. And they had till July 20 to get these letters into us. So they met that requirement. I think I attached with these letters, the late application information from the Department of Revenue in their information guide. So they both reference health issues in their letters. The one, it wasn't necessarily their health issue, it was a health issue with a relative. The other one, it kind of looked like, I was trying to read their handwriting. They referenced their own health issues there as well. So I kind of leave that up to you guys if that's something you feel like those two letters meet the standard for late approval.
And Kurt, we visited just a little bit. If we give them this exemption, they would not, if they do this again next year, they would not be allowed to claim the exemption more than 1 year in a row.
Right, yeah, you can't request a late filing 2 years in a row,
So, and both of these are ones, obviously, that have been on the homestead exemption, would qualify for 100% on homestead exemption.
That was my question.
One-
They've been on it before.
One has been, Mr. Mann, he has been, the other one, it looked like they were a new applicant this year. Or they turned in an application that, usually they get a pre-printed form if they've applied before, and the other one wasn't pre-printed unless they just grabbed one and filled one out quick, so.
Okay.
But it does make a difference to folks too, having these exemptions or not, make a big difference for them.
Any other questions for Kurt?
Do you, I mean, it just appears that they should qualify. I mean, do you have thoughts or recommendations from your side on?
Not really, it's one of those things where, like I just said, this makes it, you can really hurt them if they don't receive this. It's why the whole program exists, is to
Yeah.
help keep people in their homes, so.
And to, something to keep in mind, this is a state-funded, program. York County receives the funds for it, so.
Right, they don't have to pay the tax on their property, we're reimbursed by the state, so.
I would make a motion that we approve and accept the petitions for late filing of homestead exemptions.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any other questions,
And this
discussion?
is something too, where at a certain point in the year, when we don't see applications back in, we're reaching out, we're calling, we're sending mails or letters in the mail saying, hey, let's get those applications in, because we don't want anyone slipping through the cracks, so.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. No other discussion? Roll call, please.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Odd,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Obermeyer.
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep, thanks, Kurt. Okay, unless I have missed some scribblings,
We're
I
done?
think we've come,
Committee report.
no, we got budget workshop and committee report yet, so. We will get rolling on the budget workshop then. Let me set that up there. Does everybody have their stuff?
Oh, my Lord. Is this what you want me to be looking at?
Called in
today. What's in the
Huh?
meeting?
No,
You have to
you
call in to
can,
get
you got your
Why?
emails?
Yeah, I know, because it's 84 pages.
I should have said.
I got an email.
I spent 2.5 hours wading through that.
I know,
This is
I hate it.
Gonna
There's
go
certain
through the
things
whole-
that you can view online, and then there's certain things that are just like, no.
I can't get my brand new.
I gotta sign out of Woody still. Nobody seems to be able to get him out of my computer. Even though nobody else has somebody else in their computer.
I do, it's just
You
quiet.
do?
Okay, Jill had sent me a text, while we we're in the other meeting, says she's finding some revenue changes. So she is working through those, and she was also, I'm supposed to let her know we was gonna get going, and she will watch, as we're going. So, gentlemen, I guess,
Swear I'm not.
you know which one you're looking for, Leroy?
Yeah.
It would have come from accounts payable.
What's that?
And get out of Woody first.
Oh, hi Megan, how are you?
Good, how are you?
That was the revenue for
Yeah.
interest.
For last month, right?
Interest.
Yep, just interest.
Okay, what's,
There was two emails that I sent to you. It was the revenue side, and then I sent you another one.
I gotta find it right.
We were looking at
There. I couldn't get that to even load at
Oh, really?
last night. No, I was going through Jill's stuff all.
Jill's is good, but it's also hard to follow.
It's really hard to follow. That's what I was trying to make sense of it.
Correct.
This is way better. So there's the revenue.
So like, yeah, a lot of my CDs and stuff are going into.
Yeah, I couldn't. Could not open it.
Are you finding it, Leroy?
Yeah, this is my only email.
Monday,
I just read it this morning.
delete it.
That's what he's
Possibility.
looking at right now.
I'm looking at deleted. I don't even see them. They're back to 719, so. I just looked at all the red and black numbers this morning.
Jill's deal.
A2. Yeah. Yesterday she sent it? I read it this morning, but if I look in the legal, it's not there. Yeah,
Well, don't care what you did.
I know, and I was reading it, so she sent it to me again.
Okay,
Sorry, I read it this morning.
you got the,
So what is our goal of this today?
he's working, go through their budgets, ours, everybody's budgets, see where we feel like they should be. If we're happy with the way they are, then that's it. There's a couple of them, you know, in my opinion, that we need to find a little bit of relief in them. You know, as we're under the gun, as we speak, you know, down at the State House, trying to come up with legislation that some of the verbiage has actually got us at 0%. You know, that's just, how do we make what they're talking about down there and what we're doing here, how do we make all those things work? So,
What he's trying to do there is he is cutting, when you cut 8 million out of a $15 million budget, when you cut, I mean, and that's Four Corners, Region 5, A space, those things. Yeah, Region 5's portion of the $15 million cut is $3 million. So they figure they'll be out of money the last quarter. And they're making no capital expenditures whatsoever, no cars, no vans, no nothing. No fixing up the buildings. It's,
so what I'd like to do or to accomplish would be, the perfect world for me would be, you know, keep our budget to the point where we don't have to worry about the postcard meeting. Still be able to do raises and certain things like that, but maybe curb some other things, you know, with a fairly robust inheritance, see where we can utilize some of our inheritance money to help in that task too. But once again, it's to me, it's kind of our job to pay for it now.
I read it this morning, but it's nowhere.
Got hard
Daniel
copies.
even looked for it.
I
Can't
just
find it.
printed it off for you, because I have the revenue printed off, so.
Glad you didn't have this fair, huh?
Okay,
There, what's the funds? Actually, the COVID funds,
ARPA,
ARPA. Is there
Yes.
ARPA funds that we can use for some of these capital things
there is,
to offset a bunch of this, because we still got, what, 800,000-ish
rough number, yes.
unappropriate.
And, yeah, and that is, you know, in committee report, I was gonna talk a little bit about the addition and stuff that we had talked about, and some of those funds also, because they have to be guided by the end of the year. So, yes, there is close to 800,000, rough numbers. You know, we'll have to get down and figure out exactly that bridge payment that came out today. If that is truly the last one, then that should give us a fairly decent idea. We've got carpet project that continues on. They're with Cal leaving and stuff, it kind of slowed down a little bit, but we're going to continue on with that, and I think it's probably another $20,000-$30,000. A little bit downstairs in the gym that will come out of there too, but it shouldn't be any huge numbers. So basically, if we start at 601 and look at that, to me, the two that I'm going to reference will be the expense that we turned in, and then if we go to the other, which is the one with the health insurance, preliminary numbers by health insurance, and then that will give you the percentages of difference there. as far as when we compare it to, if we looked at last year's budget without health insurance, or what we actual, not budget, but actual, and then last year's budget with what was budgeted, and we're looking at a 2.26 increase compared to last year, which, you know, if we can keep it in that 2 to 3%, it looks like we'll be in pretty good sailing. So the time would be now if there's any questions regarding any of these. So,
Yeah. And there's a few places, basically on that one, we left it the same as what we did last year as far as the expenses. We didn't have a lot of lodging last year, and we didn't have a lot of dues and subscriptions, so we could cut that back if we, you know, if we need to find little places on our own.
okay.
Again, that one's not too out of whack.
And that one goes up obviously by our salary and.
Correct.
And the changes that was made. Any questions on 601? And
Very first one.
go ahead.
Explain the health and accident again, why it's requested.
Health and accident, we are gonna go out of, its own fund this year.
Okay, so
Or
that's.
not
why
own
that's
fund, it's gonna be in the fund, is gonna be under 100, but it's gonna be a function of, I believe it's like 614.
Yes.
Is the number, so we're combining that. The theory is to make it easier for department heads and elected officials to budget for that. We'll just have it out of one. Now, there's gonna be some exemptions to that. The exemptions would be, in my opinion, the call center, because the call center we share with the city. And we wouldn't want to take that out, because then we'd be funding the health insurance 100%, or we'd have to figure that out. So the call center would be the first one. The second one would be visitors promotion. Visitors promotion salaries and benefits and everything are paid from the collections from the motels. So it makes sense to leave that one under the visitors. And then the third one, in my opinion, would be juvenile diversion. Juvenile diversion, when it was taken on, you know, by this board, it is funded by the grant. And at the time that this board made that decision, they said that, you know, as long as the grants come in and covered and everything would be fine. And so then that would be covered by the grant under that too. Those are the three that I would say are the exemption that would stay in their own respective places. Everybody else would be pulled out and put into that. So that's why we have that comparison to look at what did the last year's actual look like without insurance in there compared to what's budgeted without insurance. Okay. So then, once again, when we get into the, you know, the 602, which is the clerks, you know, the main thing to look at, you know, although you look at the line items, the main thing is basically the bottom line, because, you know, we cannot adjust certain line items. And at the clerks, you know, we are looking at almost 5%, 4.88% increase over last year budgeted. And that would be one that I would target to say, can we go back and can we find some places to get that down into that 2 to 3% range?
Yep.
Wait. You're showing an increase?
Well, yeah, so what you're looking at there, then in Jill's email, she sent, so what you're seeing there, that 212 has the health insurance taken out.
Do you
of
have
that
those from Jill?
Jill's has a place back now.
Right, yep, so according,
Do you have an email open up?
Yes.
those numbers, if
I'm
Jill
tracking.
Clay.
last year's budget,
I do have Jill's.
if we hadn't had health
Yes.
insurance
Yes,
in there,
yes.
would have been
Okay.
202,000.
So you have the
And
analysis
this year, the clerk
of,
has requested 212,000. So, yeah, about,
100 total, yep. 300 total.
And it's called preliminary analysis by department fund with or without health insurance is what it's called.
Yep. This is what I was looking at somewhere. I don't quite have
Yeah, that's right. I was just looking at the
Right,
veterans.
but
of
there's
this
several.
one,
Mm.
and I'd seen his,
You have
and
your
of course,
email
his was
opened up.
without.
Yeah.
And he was spot on flash
Right.
here, but he wasn't, because there wasn't.
Right.
That's what wasn't making sense for me at 10:30 last night.
Oh, here we are. Here's one, and here's the other one.
Okay, but that's only two. There was some other from
Nope. I don't think so. I'll clear back to July 8th.
her. Second. Andy, you have it?
Yeah.
Leroy, your email is opened up?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm in it.
I just shot it to you.
I got it.
Is there two in there? Okay, perfect.
Download.
Go back. Yes, and then touch it to the right. Perfect. Download. Perfect.
Open file.
Yeah. And that way it'll save it back down there in Excel, and then you can go back and forth between the two. You should be able to explain it.
Oh, there you
Okay.
go. You got the wrong person on the technology.
I think we got it. Okay, so any questions or comments on that one? On the 602?
Yeah, just, if we can find a little
We have the new,
movement there, it'd be good.
we have the new appointed clerk sitting right here
We
with
do.
us, so,
Okay.
Fix it.
We'll look at it.
we got, we'll get the fire going.
Fix it.
And this will be for everybody, across the board. We would like to see that get down in that 2 to 3%, if we could work on that and do that. Which, you know, when we're looking at that increase is, when you look at this number here, let's see where we're at, county board, county clerk. So half of that, so if we could find 10,000, you know, somewhere to do that. So the next one up would be the treasurer, and we see the number on the treasurer fits within that demographic. And that's what I am bringing up, guys, if you got other
I know-
comments towards it.
I do have a question, and since she's here, I can ask it. I'm picking on line items, but on data processing costs, you put in 10,000. We didn't have any last year. Just thoughts on
I
that.
might take that out, because I realized too that Sarah's wage was, I messed that part up, so I
Okay.
think I'll take that out, because we don't have any use for that, so I'll
Right.
take that out and probably change one of my employees.
And you had reviewed, I mean, I haven't went through that list, but you'd reviewed your equipment and have the right,
Yeah, we're
Okay.
pretty much up to date for a few years.
okay. Any other questions?
Nope.
Terry, we good?
Yep.
On to 604, Register of Deeds. Do you want to see this? I mean, I can share. Can you see?
I have old eyes, but not that old.
Okay. And
Register of Deeds.
where'd we go? Yeah. I mean, it's got an increase, but not obviously that much.
Well, it looks like they budget for 10. I go back to data processing again, and they don't use it. So they might spend less than they budget in.
They use 7,500 though, pretty religiously.
Yeah.
So any place, even if it falls within what we would consider a reasonable amount, any place that we can find that
Right.
if it was just copy and paste and we can do some
Well,
things.
besides the Register of Deeds, there's 2 public computers that we have to worry about as well. You know, the public can come in, so if those go down, usually we rotate them to them. We don't ever buy new.
Oh, sure, gotcha. No.
But the
But-
data processing has been coming out of data
Out
processing
of data
also.
processing.
Right.
So I'm not sure what is
I wonder what that
contained in that
74.
74.
I will have to look and see, because that was actual spent, correct?
Right.
Yep.
Oh, that might be MIPS.
But MIPS wouldn't it be under the service agreement, which would be
We
really.
get a monthly bill for like microfilming, putting Nebraska deeds online, all
Okay.
of that.
Are we, maybe we're paying
That-
that out of there?
May have come out of the Register of Deeds data processing, because it is a data processing cost.
Okay. Next up, County Assessor, 605. And this would be another one there that I obviously would highlight too, that currently, we're just above 4%, 4.17. If there's any way that we could find, you know, some areas in there to lower,
Where are you at?
the county assessor.
No, you said, I didn't hear what percentage.
Oh, 4.17 is what's showing budgeted versus budgeted.
Over what you want?
No, 4.17 over budgeted last year to budgeted this year. And, you know, it'd be nice to get that in that 2 to 3%, across the board on everybody's.
So you want me to cut that much from what I proposed?
It would be nice.
2%.
2% or 4%?
If you cut the 1.17%, you're at 3.
You're at 3. So if we could find a range somewhere between 2 and 3% would be great.
Perfect, okay.
Any other questions? Encroaching on you.
No, you're fine.
You're kind
I'm
of stuck in the corner there
That's
just a little bit.
That's okay. We got space.
Okay. Elections, same way. I know that the elections are tough. Stop that. Oh, did we go by it?
No, one more. Let's see what's up.
607?
Commission.
Looks like,
It's a public meeting, I can't talk to the officials directly, the commissioners, but what I can say is this is a presidential election year, and we had all sorts of issues with our last presidential election involving Donald Trump. And so if anywhere needs to go above 3%, this may be a good place for you to request that from the commissioners.
because of the security we may need. Thank you. Okay.
So that's where you're at.
We, are at a presidential election and postal services, I would agree with that because it could be A mail, you never know. I doubt maybe we can cut some of that postal, but
And it won't take much when we're looking at that one.
Right, yeah.
You know, to get within that. You know, because if we're looking at election,
Because it's.
you know.
because it is in the election year, absolutely.
For not every year's.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Let's not say every year, because that means there's special elections in between years.
Right.
Yeah.
I couldn't see you backing that up any more than $2,500 at most.
We would, I think that I'll keep the same stance with everybody. Because I'm guessing that every department head and or elected official could come up with some reasoning whatsoever to say, well, this or this or this. I know that Mr. Bina was just through here last week with Kelly's. He feels very confident in our elections. And the Secretary of State is standing behind their election commissioners, and so I have that same confidence, and I think, you know, we will be okay. So that would be one that I would ask, the same way, if we would just relook, and if we can do, you know, something about that.
She seems to always, it seems to have always been over budgeted anyway.
Yeah.
25,
Right.
we use 90 something, 100 this, and we use 90 something.
Right.
I mean, that's. I'm just saying.
It falls into that category, we don't
We
know.
don't know,
That's what I
it
mean.
might happen.
But,
Then
right.
if that's, then where would I come up with the money for an election? I mean, if it's a special election, say the city or the school, they'll reimburse us back, but I have to have money in that fund to actually do the election,
Well, the nice part about the 100 fund,
is
We share.
we can share.
we can share.
Yes, that's very true.
So we can ask these funds to be just a little bit closer, where we don't have to worry about the net fund balance and different things like that. We have that, and which we used the ability this year to clean up a couple of them. And so, yes,
Okay.
so you don't have to worry about that as much.
I especially like where's the money coming from?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so
So-
608, so go
So
ahead.
she could somehow make it 3 instead of 4, it'd probably fall
It'd be
below
nice.
that anyway.
Yeah.
It'd be nice.
Yeah.
608, planning and zoning. Yeah, obviously this one was going up.
Yeah, the dues and subscriptions, I'm not sure why he upped that one for $4,000.
Not sure, or if it was,
Oh, jeez.
because it's kind of a odd number.
Right,
For a
yeah.
budgeted
Mhm.
number.
Let me go grab the sheet. Let me go grab a sheet.
It's just a little change.
Right.
You never know what kind of training we must go to.
And did we, we're gonna pay for the comp plan out of,
That's up to us,
Right.
regardless of where it comes out
Yep.
of, we're gonna fund it.
Right.
It would be, you know, like I say, my opinion that, I mean, this would be a logical place for it.
Sure.
But we have done certain contracts out of miscellaneous before. I'd just
Okay.
like to have it have its own line item.
Right.
To say, this is what it is, just like we do with the audit and budget
Yep.
and stuff like that, so. It doesn't matter to me, either way is fine with me, but that's a good question for Nate there on that one.
The miscellaneous went up to 927 from nothing to.
Right, yeah.
Since it's a small budget, that makes a big difference.
Right, yep.
So we covered part of Nate's salary out of this.
We do, correct. So he, so he's
Administrative
an
part-time.
employee of Gary, but of county attorney, but then we contracted with him to be zoning administrator for $20,000.
That's probably.
To that end, he answers directly to you guys.
On the
Zoning.
plan, right,
Right,
correct.
right.
Yep.
And he always has.
Yeah, well, the dues and subscriptions so high.
Right, exactly, yeah, that,
And that's a
No,
weird
he
number.
requested 4,500, 2027
okay.
We'll just have to get some
for
clarification.
due subscription and training fees.
Training, I guarantee he's got something.
Could be.
You don't come up with
we-
27 cents out of the air. There's something that costs so much.
Yeah.
Is there a thought from this board as far as the comp plan and funding it? Do we want to put that in this, here, or do we want to, run that through miscellaneous? Part of the reason to run it through miscellaneous, if you put it in here, it throws this budget really out of whack. I mean, it makes it look like we're spending way more than we have in the past,
Right.
which we are, but, that's one argument to leave it in miscellaneous. Then year over year, we can have a better,
608 altogether?
no,
Is that what you're talking about?
the comp plan, so the 10 to 15,000 that we're gonna pay, or however much it was, I don't remember.
50.
50,
Mhm.
the
Over the next
50,000.
year and a half.
Exactly,
That we're gonna pay what?
that we're gonna pay Marvin to create the comp plan,
Oh.
and so, yeah.
Nope.
So leave this one. Question is on the dues and subscriptions. Try to get the answer, is what I've got written down on 608.
And, there is a bump in the salary that we discussed salaries, that'll be
Right.
a discussion there.
Data processing.
This one should be fairly, I mean, we went through and calculated everything. A few questions that I had. I don't know why we went down on maintenance and licensing agreements. I'm not sure why that number's lower. And maybe it's because we moved that, because that was under, telephone services now possibly.
Okay.
We need to look into that a little closer. And then, do we have, Mary, do you know, with everybody's request, did they submit, like computer?
Yes, I
Request.
believe there's three people.
Okay.
County Attorney's Office, I don't think did. We need to.
I think district court, us, and somebody else.
Okay.
In my letter to you guys, I got the letter requested.
Okay.
Maybe it was you then, Kurt.
And I can get ours put together and have it to you by the end of the week.
Now, a lot of those, we had, this last year, we went through the ALTCF fund
Correct.
on that, which we'll have one more year of that, and we about expended it
We did.
this last year, so we do have that in there, so, I'm not sure where this equipment came from this last year, because we would have had the ALTCF fund that we were using at the time,
Yep.
too.
It might have been an early purchase that we had to get bought before the budget would have approved, and
It could
so we
be.
just,
I could
Was-
look and
was it
find
a
out
Bigger
what we
purchase?
did.
2,400.
Was that our server that was about ready to die?
It's possible,
I-
yeah,
That probably was it.
yeah.
Early on
'Cause it
last
was-
year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm guessing that sounds about the right price.
okay,
okay.
yep.
So, but yeah, that, I assume we'll utilize that
I think so.
fund for that
would be my
again,
recommendation.
until it would be done.
While you're putting that together, your storage, do you wanna include that in there as well? Or-
I'll put together just a comprehensive everything. The good news is we also have some of our drug funds that we can utilize
Okay.
for some of that stuff.
Yep,
And so we're going to make as minimal a request from the data processing as we possibly can.
sure, okay, cool, thanks.
I will email all the departments and make sure that they have their
Yep.
requests in.
Thanks.
Okay, next up would be the 614 then, and this would be the health insurance number. And this actual number is compiled of what would have been considered everybody. So that would actually have the call center,
Yep.
and the others, and the call centers is right at $100,000. And then the other two, is right at $35,000, meaning the visitors and the juvenile. So, you know, they're in that fund there, I think we're, although we don't know the second half of this year,
Right.
we're probably plenty,
Correct.
probably have plenty in
Yep.
there. Where we could cut that one down just a little bit too.
Yep.
So you
We-
looked at last year's to get.
Right,
Yeah,
correct.
what
We took-
would grab the people, yeah, grabbed
Yep.
everybody.
Yep, we took what we're currently paying, and then we took an increase for the next half to come up with this number.
Yeah.
We do, one thing that I had a note here, we want to have a little bit of cushion in there for personnel changes that
Right.
somebody coming in that,
So how many
Yeah.
people, we're at least, what, probably 15 people short in the county? I know we're 8 at roads alone.
right? Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I don't know if we'd be quite 15 across the board, but yeah, we're
Number of
definitely.
employees.
Number of open positions, if we were to happen to be able to hire everyone we need to
For the entire
for the
county,
entire county.
and whether they were family or single,
Correct.
big difference.
And not knowing the increase,
Yeah.
you know, I would probably advocate that we
I don't
we
think
could
you
probably,
wanna mess with it a lot.
we could probably do 50. I wouldn't say we would do the whole 135 that we'd
Sure.
anticipate, but we could probably do 50. And that's a conversation that maybe we look at the number as we go forward and where we are at with everything else. If we need to catch
Yep.
50, we could do that possibly.
What do you mean by catch 50,000?
Well, if we needed to come up with another 50. Now, the nice thing about this one, once again, it's under the 100 fund, which, you know, we can,
Have a little move.
yeah, they kind of commingle, so to speak. Okay, next up, clerk of the district court. And this one is one of those where it has some line items where you just don't know. You know, some of those anticipated costs, you kind of go on year to year. Porter Board and Council, you know, she did come down on that just a little bit.
And overall,
Overall,
that one was a little lower.
yes, 2.77%. Yeah,
Did they
Let's have them all do that.
actually, did they go over 100% actually?
Yeah,
It's one thing to budget something, it's what did you actually do?
right.
any comments on that one? Keep moving down.
Who makes that one up, Randy?
Sharon,
Who?
Sharon,
Stubby?
Stubby,
Okay.
clerk of the district court.
Okay, okay.
Her office does, you know, I assume it is her. On that one, that being said, we do have bailiff.
Bailiff
Line
fees.
3.
Those are paid twice a year, I believe.
We need to
Yeah.
check into that, 621.
Looks like 23, 24 is actually 14,
Hmm?
so it's 8.
Thank you. Because we,
Right, exactly.
Can we split it with somebody else now?
share with Seward.
Thank you.
And we pay Seward for the, bailiff, like twice a year.
There is some mileage that is gonna be involved in that one now too, so I'm gonna have to check with Sherilyn on that, because we, the bailiff, they had purchased a vehicle in Seward County for her to drive back and forth, and then our share, there's gonna be some mileage on that also
Okay.
now.
So I believe this total for the bailiff, we didn't get the second half in the last fiscal year. It was paid in July or January through June.
Okay, that could be.
So I think that's why her actual cost is half the price of what she did actually.
She's got right
I think it's
at
air conditioning.
$3,000 in mileage.
I got it.
So I'll need to ask Sherilyn about that to see if that's,
We're gonna have to go in there.
okay. County Court. Now, remember on this also, when we change, at the end of the year, when we do the budget transfer, that we change that. So it wasn't necessarily that to begin with. So when you look at the, the difference, what did we put in there? 800 and something.
Yeah, it was 100 and something. I could go get,
So we change that budget when we do that.
Right.
Because it was changed last year.
So the budgeted number, 245, 147, and then the actual 309, right? Actual, no,
No, that's two different
Sorry,
years.
that's
That's
the
two
one.
different years.
Yeah.
309 to actual was 308, so
Yeah.
we were under, I mean, that's still a pretty good size increase on that one.
let me go get the year and I'll be right back.
Here you go. Here.
Oh, this was June. I wanted May.
Oh, that's the wrong one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I want May because it'll show what we actually budgeted
Okay.
prior to that change.
Still in the county court, right?
Yep. $622.
So, adopted budget was 208,500. And then we increased it,
So actually,
55,000, not quite.
we increased it to 309,500.
Right.
She had 687 remaining in her budget, so it's 100,000.
so we've got right at 40,000 up on that one. And obviously, the court-appointed counsel is the big one on that. So we're a much larger increase than what would be anything else, because that would be what, 40,000 on 200 would be around 20%,
Right, yeah.
Somewhere in there.
But does she
Yeah.
have most of her court-appointed counsel up to date and paid, or no? Or is she gonna
I-
have bills?
I don't know, that'd be a question that we'd have to ask.
So my office is actually the gatekeeper for the paying of those fees. For almost all of our regularly court-appointed counsel, we are within a month up to date. The problem being that there are some counsel that hold on to them, and then suddenly we'll have a $50,000 a month windfall to a local counsel. The big one right now is the juvenile abuse and neglect cases. We have 65 current open ones, which is abhorrent. And each one of those has between 3 and 5 attorneys on it at $125 an hour. The other thing is the state raised the court-appointed attorneys' fees beginning in last July.
Right.
From 95 to 125. And so there's a 30% increase per hour per attorney.
That'd be called an unfunded mandate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And so it's something that juvenile diversion works on, and adult diversion eventually, hopefully will work on. But the problem is that we don't have anything that would cut down on the abuse and neglect as of right now. If you've got a better idea on how to cut those down, I'd be more than happy to explore that. But I handle all of them.
Okay. So that would just be our normal conversation, to see where we feel. 200,000 is, and if we go back and look at what was actual, 205 and 22-23, and then this last year 262. So one would tell you the 200 probably isn't too far off, unfortunately. Okay. Any other questions on that one? If not, we'll go to 625, which is public defender. And I believe on that, there was a decrease on that one. He's got the deputy
Mainly,
at a half. The deputy's in there, but it's only in there at a half year. And he has been flying solo for 2 years, I believe.
pretty close.
Probably close to a year and a half, year and 3/4, yeah.
Yeah. And so. Questions on that? Child Support District Court. That one, we do see an increase on 12.42%.
What is that one exactly,
And
Randy?
that is Sherilyn. And one of her staff in there that does that, and I think, obviously the wage is what,
Is the big part of it.
Mhm.
I see it.
But didn't we do something with district court as well? District court, we added money to their budget.
was that district or this one? Child support.
Or, yeah, I think
It was child support.
It was this one right here.
Right. Because actual back in 22-23 was 52,601.04.
Yeah, we had a budget of 8782. And then we increased it.
To 90, right here.
Yeah.
Clerk,
So there was
982.
$3,000 we.
Right.
your clerical regular time budgeted 23-24, 61.5, and requested 72 this year.
And I know that there was some change in help, and so that there'd probably be a conversation on this one also.
Oh, she did take.
Yep, health insurance is out of there.
Yeah.
Other questions on this one? Next one up would be building and grounds. I need to sit down with Brian on this one. There was some service contracts, maintenance agreements, and it's the 2544, it's under operating expenses, that I need to get some clarification on that, on what that is and why it went up. And then maintenance part-time, as you can see, we put in there that figure, and that was, Cal come back and help quite a bit. He hasn't been, he's been doing a little bit, but not a lot. And so obviously that figure can be, looked at again too. Those are the two things in there that
The,
I caught.
the water and electricity went up about 4,000 each.
Yep. And I don't know what like I say, I need to sit down with Brian on that one too. And he was over in the shop yesterday and we talked about it, but we did not go through it, so.
14 years, the rate, MPPD. Ours has. Yours and mine have. So it's Dan, yeah. Perennial says, but not MPPD.
Okay. Any other questions on that one? Agri Extension, and usually they do a very good job of keeping it in line. Tanya is somebody that, and she's right at that 2.29.
She's got nothing budgeted for health and accident.
Right, we pulled that.
Oh, that's
that
part of
one
what we
we
have pulled,
pulled out,
gotcha.
yeah.
That's part of the, coming out of a different fund.
Okay. Next up. Sheriff. Sheriff. And, you know, unfortunately, through the way things went, they are, I believe I think Sheriff's on vacation this week, but they're out of the office at a funeral today. So I'll need to touch base with Josh. My one would be exactly the cars and trucks and see where we're at on that. If that is a necessity, can we
They
find
just
it?
bought 2 vehicles.
Yep. Yep. So there's gotta be some clarification on that.
You're thinking most of that should come out of, the drug forfeiture money?
They just bought 2 out of that, but I don't know if this is 2 additional.
Yeah.
Typically, we don't switch out 4 a year. Typically, it's just 2.
Right.
So I don't know if
Right.
or what, but, you know, as we've seen, the increase is around 7%. And when you're looking at larger funds or larger functions, it's a big chunk. So we will ask them to,
Hopefully they just have it double accounted for and it'll come out.
did you see anything else on that one?
On the sheriff's.
That, you know, obviously wages, when you're looking at it, wages are a huge, huge part of that. Personnel costs are just vast majority, 1.3 of 1.6. But if that 100,000 could be, then it should really make it look a lot
Right.
better. County Attorney's Office, you know, obviously we have that, and I believe that was, where are we at?
Sitting at around
Yep, in
2.7.
between. And of course, we'll have to, we haven't talked about this on all the other ones, but they have the wages, and if we set the deputies' wages, and I would assume we'll be doing that at the next meeting. Have we had all those
We're still
recommendations?
talking about the
come in with
county
this?
sheriff's one?
Nope, we're past that.
County.
Do you have a question on the county sheriff?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, what is it?
It is on the, when they're looking at their deputy salaries. I know he sets them, but it seems like he budgeted for 692 and then they spent 627, so now he budgets for 714. I mean, that's a pretty good increase.
Yeah, I'm not, that will be in that question.
Okay. All right. That's all.
Okay?
Anytime I see the big increase instead of the 2 or 3%, it's like,
So, did you have anything?
On the county attorney one, there's, you know, looking at the line items, there's a number of them that were cut fairly significantly, but have been consistent in being spent. I don't know if there's thoughts on that, you know?
Can I take a peek?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, one of them would be the coroners, you know, the last couple of
Right.
that's what he's
years.
looking for, is this?
Yeah. Like travel expenses, I guess last year was just a little bit more consistently, it's been 500. But then like dues and subscriptions was taken out completely?
Yes, so dues and subscriptions, travel expenses, lodging, and there was another one. Those are the major things that we can also take out of our drug forfeiture money.
Yep.
And so we're going to recode them out of a different thing so we can make the drug dealers pay for it. It doesn't need to be on the taxpayer's dollar that we go to
Sure.
training. And so that's where that's coming from. That's the reason for those cuts.
Very good. And then consulting fees and special fees.
Okay, so,
Last year there was some,
And then
but
I'll have
yeah,
them work on
gone.
it.
yep, so the consulting fees was a one-time payment while we had somebody in the office on a temporary basis.
Oh, okay. Yep.
It's not gonna be there anymore.
Yep, yep. Okay,
Yeah, we increased it by
very good.
25
So,
cents.
and then the sheriff's fees worries me a little bit. Sorry, not sheriff's fees.
Special fees.
Special fees, because we have no idea what's going to be in there.
Sure.
So
Yep.
we budget for it, but unfortunately, it goes the way that it goes. There's no way for us to control that, similar to the court-related costs. It's been consistently the same thing, and then suddenly last year was an absolute explosion. And county court and district court tell us what those is, but they don't tell us until May, June.
Sure.
There's no way that we can budget for it.
Right, okay.
So all we do is, I've got upstairs actually a running budget from 2017 to present.
Okay.
And so that 1926 is a fairly specific number. That is based off of almost 10 years worth of budget, and that's what it typically is. Last year was just an explosion.
Sure. Cool, thanks for that
Yep.
explanation.
No, this is another one, this budget is another one that we bumped by 20.
Say that again?
We bumped it by 20
Oh.
to get it,
Right. Yep.
caught up.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that was one that was, when we look at budget and actual,
Yep,
the budget number
Last
was,
year you did?
yep.
yes, we did,
Okay.
not you.
No, I said last year. you did.
We all did.
I said you. I didn't say we.
In June, just a
I
couple
say-
months ago,
Yeah.
we bumped it up by 20,000 to cover
Oh, that.
the budget,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, that reflects in these numbers too.
Yeah, okay, all right. Well, yeah, with the actual. Yeah.
Any other questions? Do.
Looks like we're gonna do some drug testing.
Yeah, who
Josh.
submitted that one? I wonder what the $5,000 in office will buy.
That's I don't know. And we need to ask that, 660.
Probably
Need some
because
comfortable
actual,
chairs while we're,
actual was
Open them, I
4641, that's probably why, Daniel.
what's that?
Because his actual was 4641, that's probably why.
Well, in the, testing,
But yeah,
but then
he's
he
got-
added 5,000, he doubled the budget.
I had 5,000
Oh,
in the
yeah,
office.
Yeah,
Sorry, I was just reading
And
the
then-
line above, I wasn't reading the one below.
that was pretty consistent, so I don't,
Yeah.
we'll have to ask Josh to see where he's at on that. County attorney's child support,
I like those where doubling the budget only costs 5,000
Hmm,
instead of a million.
right.
What are you on now?
662. Child, county attorney child support.
No more deputy salary.
Any questions there? Hearing none, we'll keep Cruising, 671. This is jail. This is another one that we see, a little bit more of an increase in it. But it's one of those two, we don't know. I don't think that, even though we did have a good sized one to the Department of Corrections today, so we have somebody somewhere, or more than one somebody somewhere. And so we always have those, but as far as the other ones, they haven't been near as bad, to the surrounding counties to house that. But once again, personnel is a vast majority of that one. And, that is taking, when you look at it, there's a few people working there, but a nice size increase in there also.
And they're competing with prison.
Correct.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're all competing with somebody. I had that conversation yesterday, why aren't you guys full staff? Well, why isn't anybody full staffed anymore? Take a drive down the road and you see all the help wanted signs. I mean, I don't know what the answer to that is, above my pay grade.
I got a question. On Board of Prisoners, what exactly is that? What daily the cost?
That's when we pay other people to house our prisoners.
That's what that is?
Yes.
Ouch.
So when we're full or exceedingly full, then we have contracts with Butler, Platt, Seward, Hamilton
Yeah, I know.
to watch our people. But then when we have people that we or they cannot hold, and that in today's vendor claims, there would have been a bill from Department of Corrections.
Oh, boy.
And that's when we get 95, I believe it's $95 a day. We pay to house people, whether it be out here in the ladies or in Lincoln.
You didn't go on the tour, would that be someone like he was talking about? Where they just needed to be somewhere else?
Yes.
Right.
Or they just don't have a room
Or
here.
they don't have room.
Well, Department of Corrections
Sometimes there's
are,
people that don't belong
we
here.
cannot have.
Yeah.
And unfortunately too, then we have those incidences where, we have somebody that is close to either staff or, they can't be held here for some reason too. And then we pay those other institutions at different figures, but typically in that $50, $60 range a day. And then we still cover the medical costs.
Do we take people in and get money also?
No.
We could, but we're constantly full.
Right.
Yes.
Constantly full. That's why we pay other.
That's not a quick answer.
It's not,
We do everything we can to work with the jail, but
Yeah.
it's better than it was. At one time, we was 20, almost 30 people, which was about double capacity, outsourced.
and we have those explosions every once in a while, but they're handled relatively quickly, as opposed to it being a constant 20 or 30 outside.
Yeah, $30,000 a month is what we were paying for boarding.
That would come up with that number.
And speaking of the jail, and we're gonna touch on this a little bit in committee reports. When we talked about the expansion, they did go to the fire marshal to ask about an expansion. And the fire marshal is not gonna be willing to let us do any expansion until we sprinkle our jail. Our jail, they let us buy on the expansion this way. We had to have the firewalls up to snuff to contain anything that happened in there. But the fire marshal is really wanting our jail to be up to code and sprinkled. And the guesstimation is somewhere around $100,000 to $125,000 to sprinkle that jail. They have to be tamper-proof heads and, different things like that. But it seems to me that until we do that, we're not gonna be able to do any additions or stuff like that. So we probably really should, that probably would fit with that ARPA money to get it done, use that money to get that up to code. And so we'll talk about that some more. Any other questions on that one? County surveyor, next. Rex was in. Obviously, one of the line items went up drastically because of the contractual to do certain things. And that's just a shot in the dark. He's not sure what that will be. He was pretty much self-contained as far as being able to do the digging and do certain things and roading the equipment, and now that is not happening. We have to alter the way we're doing that, and so that's a guess.
The official salary on that one is lower than actual last year.
Right.
That, I mean, that.
It's
is
gonna
another
have to
one that's
change.
set, so
Right.
it's gonna have to go up.
Mhm. Yep. He has done that in the past. He has said he doesn't want it, but it's set by us, by statute, so it is what it is. Okay, any other questions? 733, noxious weed.
I'm meeting with them on this next week to get it more in line.
Okay. Yeah, obviously, we have to set that wage yet too. Weed control. Okay. Veterans. Any questions? We'll have to set that salary at 2. Did we get anybody
It's-
hired?
No, it's clerical might be lower, so,
Yeah, that's,
because it's gonna be somebody new, so.
Have we done interviews?
And he's at the 2%.
I don't know, Jack was gonna.
Handle that?
I think Jack told me he had one person apply,
Okay,
That's officially, yeah.
and that was 2 weeks ago,
okay,
so.
okay. Handy bus. And obviously, we did some, adjustments this last year on wages then, and I'm sure that we'll have some wages to deal with at the next meeting also.
Sure how she's gonna be lower.
I think what we did with that was good, because I can tell you there's another governmental department that always has to adjust wages because no one will apply. So,
And that is one that is sitting at 4.65, so obviously we'll look at that again and ask for some help in that area too. Okay. Miscellaneous general. This is where we kind of catch a lot of things. Kind of the go-to. And this is where we do a lot of transfers out of, but
Is our audit actually going up that much this year?
Audit and budget cost both are,
well, those are two separate. So the audit
separate.
was, we just did that, but that's compliance and,
the state compliance, all of it. She handles everything.
right, but I don't know that it was going to that level. We'll have to double check that.
Probation costs are 0. $2,100.
Where are we at there?
This one right
And we had no joint public hearing cost?
Yeah, we must have paid that out of somewhere else. I'm not sure what
Or-
we did there.
One year could you have it, and the next year,
Definitely
You don't.
correct. Correct. Yep.
how do you budget that?
Well, last year it was
Yeah,
all,
Yeah, 5,000.
last year it was all us though, so we would have had some cost for printing and
here.
everything.
Which one are we looking at?
Probation. We have
Probation
the
costs.
32,245, that's district court probation officer, so that would be what we paid it to District 5.
Probation cost was left blank.
This is under
Why?
miscellaneous, right?
Why did
Oh, I got you. Yeah, it was left blank.
So we probably need to insert that
I would think
into there
so.
because it's been very consistent on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's been exactly the same.
So that is,
2,100, what would you guys?
59.50.
It says it was 59.50.
Yep, and Jill's watching, so I assume that she is making some notes also. And then, like area and aging and Region 5, those, but we have those numbers. We should be good on that. Area on aging may be different.
Do we have the audit costs?
They're in there.
Because
But
We're
18 budget to 32.
we're questioning it.
Yeah.
So we'll
it's
see.
24 actual last year, Leroy.
Yeah, that's obviously that and the compliance, for the,
So the probation cost, should I add 5?
depends, she just responding to it, that one it's budgeted to do the single point in case we have to, instead of just the compliance.
do we, is this where we want to add in comp plan contract?
Yes. Yep, somewhere in there. Contractual services would be 2,500.
Yep.
And which one?
Our contract for, in that one, 2,500
Contractual
Yeah.
services, 25.
for, no, not the figure 2,500. the line
Oh,
item.
that line
Yes.
item, okay.
Yeah, that for Marvin Associates,
Okay.
you
Alright.
make a note there.
Are you done with that one? There's two lines, and I don't know what they each are, just so you know.
Okay?
Region 5 systems, there's two of them. And
Yes.
See, you did the 35.5, which is
Right.
what they asked us to do.
Right?
But the line below had 25,000 and then 24,000.
They asked for nothing this year.
They want nothing on that.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
And Region 5 Services is now A-PACE.
It's got both parts.
Okay.
A-Pace is in town.
Mm-hmm. And then Region 5 Systems, they're in,
Yeah.
Yeah, he came,
Because I have to go to two meetings. I get to go to one, a Region 5 meeting, then I get to go to a base
Okay.
meeting.
yeah.
That's right, Randy. Thank you.
Yep.
I was like, what's the 25? I knew exactly what the number was for the other one. Thank you for doing that. Whoever made that budget. They thank you.
okay, so don't know that we have that 2104, which is line item 2104, district court. Do we have Blue Knight in there anywhere else?
Somewhere.
Blue Knight gets taken out of contractual,
Security something, security contract? Is that the next? Yeah, 2501, next page.
yes, security contract. 52501.
Okay, just so we didn't have that in there. Okay, perfect. And then obviously all of our interfund transfers and all that fun
All
stuff.
that will be, is Joe gonna come up with those numbers?
Yep.
For interfund?
Yep, we'll plug those in when we're all done with everything else. Once we set, all those budgets, then we're done with that. Any other questions on that? Last one's 980, and that's building and grounds. Obviously, that one is where we attacked and took money from, which makes it look lower. Typically, we have budgeted that one at 100,000
Oh,
every
you
year,
took money out
but
there.
because we took money out of
For
it,
other
it
things.
makes it look like,
Okay.
yeah, and it wasn't. Now, that will probably get something go through it here directly. We had Yant Equipment had to come out and get our fuel tank on the south side of our building up to snuff. We was not in complete compliance, and that was about a $13,000 bill. They had to work on the top of the tank and monitoring system and stuff like that. So that won't be going through, and we'll probably pull it out of building and grounds repair. Because that was one that we expected it to be that much. The tank needed more work than what we expected.
I think the original bid was like 6 or 7. and
6 or
it-
7 plus,
Then it ended up double.
well, it was 6 or 7 plus 2,000 labor. So it was about 8, and then it ended up, they had to do more work to the tank, so it was another 5 on top of it. Any other questions on that? So we're at the top, we're through the 100. And then we get on to the other independent funds, which these are the ones then that they'll have the net fund balance, they'll carry over money. Roads Department is 300, it's the first one up. The only thing in there yet is the truck trailer.
A truck trailer and a motor grader.
We already took care of the motor
We
grader.
did.
It's still in here though.
Well, we'll transfer money from inheritance over to this fund to cover that.
Last year, we must have just paid it out of inheritance,
Did we?
which it don't matter, we
It-
did it either way, but,
Right.
it's not listed in here, in this one.
Fuel, I mean, you guys, you go through this.
Yeah.
Yeah, mainly, I think without the, truck and trailer,
Pretty close to squish.
We-
Oh, so
budget
those
might
two,
fit right
be
in
a
there.
little bit lower.
those
yeah.
two shouldn't be there.
At
What's that?
The
818,000.
275 and the 360.
Right, so the 360
Yeah.
we acted on,
Inheritance, yeah.
and we'll take that out of inheritance. And so then this, Harvey would like to have a new truck and trailer. And so that's just whether we approve him making that expenditure or not.
And of course, his budget is figuring also in the personnel costs that, getting up to snuff, up to
Mhm.
full contract. And-
Correct, yep.
And sometimes that's tough to do.
Yeah, that's a big number too.
And then we have to set wages.
Well, the maintenance full-time,
Because last
A
year,
huge change, but the construction regular time is.
Yeah, 'cause right now we virtually have zero construction crew out there.
last year was about 542,000 left at the end of the year. But then that net fund balances and just comes off of, what we're doing.
I mean, it's lower, but it's only
The-
because that, the one's taken out.
The truck and trailer or whatever, I mean, if we, the inventory, I know we got a pickup last year, because we needed a pickup.
Yep.
I know that there's always wants and needs out there, because
Right.
he is, I think, more in the want part is a Mini. He's talked
Yeah,
about having a
right.
Mini on a few occasions, but obviously, if he didn't mention the Mini, he feels like truck and trailer would be higher
Yeah,
priority.
it is. That age on that fleet's horrible.
On the what?
The age of the fleet of the truck and trailer fleet is, we're behind the eight ball significantly.
Truck and trailer, the big ones?
Yes.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the gravel.
The gravel haulers, dirt haulers.
Yep.
The ones that run up and down the road
Yep.
5 days a week. So, and we can spend a bunch of money on that stuff.
Do you ever buy motor grader one year and the truck and trailer the next year?
With 14 motor graders, it just continue with those, because by the time they come up to kick them out,
But do you only buy a motor grader every other year?
nope,
Currently, we're buying one
every year. Well, once again, if you, 13,
Yeah.
14 years,
13-year-old motor grader's pretty.
And how many do you have? Yeah, the 13, 14 of them. Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
The only thing I would argue with him a little bit, put the equipment aside for a minute, is the construction regular time.
Yeah.
To me, you could budget that 100 grand less, 150 less, because our ability
Exactly.
to find the people to pay.
Well, that's what I was saying, because he actually did do them both lower than he budgeted for them, 23 and
Oh,
24.
sure. Yeah.
So he could budget lower.
Yeah, I'd like to, I could foresee rolling that back to about 350, 325 even. Just the reality of the job market.
Right now.
Oh, that's fine, they're yours.
I'm just telling you, your money didn't go to
We did
waste.
have that conversation.
Because you can change that. Do that project, don't do that.
Well, that's somewhat misleading how he has employees categorized. Everyone really does everything in a perfect world.
Sure.
so in that one, with the previous year, we had 6.56%. And that does not have the motor grader in there.
It is not.
Is it on the worksheet?
Yeah, I think it does.
It is.
I think both the motor grader and the,
360 is in there.
yep,
Okay.
360.
which I've been working some numbers here and I'm not getting them to, I don't know. I can't get them to come out to that 6.5, but
Oh, yeah, 50307 is motor
Because
grader.
for some reason Jill was saying it wasn't in there
maybe she took it out on her side to get
She
the,
did take it out on her
to get
side.
and that makes more sense,
Well,
because
we-
that's how she came up with that 6.5%.
Right.
Okay, yeah, that,
And we
that
paid
makes
for the
more sense.
motor grader out of inheritance. Will he
But
pay
we-
that inheritance back then? Or-
Well, that,
No, we would transfer, we could do it one of two ways. We could pay it out of inheritance so it doesn't
And
hit his
ju-
budget.
Okay, okay.
Or
He
we
doesn't
could
have
leave
to-
it in his budget and transfer the money
Money
into.
back into inheritance.
Into his,
Okay.
well, no, from inheritance
haven't-
into his budget.
we
We
haven't
haven't paid
bought
for it yet.
grader yet.
It's coming.
Yep.
We could do the same
For
with the truck
some
too.
reason, I thought we did.
Last year, we paid for last year's a while
I
ago.
thought we paid for,
Not recently.
not recently.
Mhm.
Shouldn't have. I don't
We
think
just
so.
did the bid.
That's
Just
what
did
we
the
bid.
That's what we did. Okay, I
Yep.
knew there was a motor grader
Right.
somewhere.
Yeah, we just did the
Okay.
bid.
Okay.
And they were figuring 60 to 90
Mhm.
days maybe,
Mhm.
if something on the motor grader, it seemed to me like. It wasn't near as long as what
It's
we had,
end, it's end of this month, I
it
believe.
had been to. So we will have to make a decision of where to put it.
Okay.
Yes, and she did not, Jill did not have it in there. So we'll just have to decide, where we want to put it. Those increases, like I say, if we can find some areas, that if you guys can work with Harv on that.
Miscellaneous contracts. Is he expecting a lot?
And then, of course, we'll have to set his wage in upcoming too. Did you visit any about the wage, like scale at all?
Yes.
We
you?
did, and we can have that conversation. It was, there was some thoughts of that wouldn't be the best fit out there. So,
Okay. And that's when it was originally talked about, going somewhere, then that's automatic, where is it gonna work, where does it gonna work, and then it's just like you quit fighting,
yeah,
so.
Yeah, there's, we should have that conversation later, Andy.
Okay. Okay, any more on that one? You guys will work with him on that one to try to find some areas to cut, and then we'll have to decide on the truck and trailer, if that's something we really need.
That would be inheritance.
It probably would be, yeah. Undoubtedly, inheritance would take care of it. Whether you transferred or just paid for it out of inheritance would be up to us.
Right.
Now, the truck and trailer isn't the every year expenditure like the motor grader is.
Yeah, that's all I didn't know.
Okay. Moving on. Highway bridge buyback. 300.
So that's big because we're paying it, all right, this year.
what's that?
His budget
Which square?
is big.
Oh, because of the asphalt. Last year, that came out of ARPA, didn't it? Or, no,
I think
his,
This is just, there's norm, this wouldn't be part of that.
what did we schedule last year out of?
Why does he request?
2 years ago, we did some gravel out of ARPA and
Yeah, we did that
and
to
roads to
Yep.
kind of,
alleviate the lid.
Mhm.
but the
Because
highway bridge buyback really is just revenue numbers that he budgets, with the state, if I'm correct in thinking that.
Yep, and we budget to spend it all.
Yep.
Okay, next one up is 666. Just really don't understand that code at all. But it is the adult diversion, and I have yet to see other than what we're looking at.
Right.
And so I'm not sure
This
if more
is
stuff.
all
Brendan, you got
that.
any idea?
Tristan's actually on his way right now.
I'm sorry?
Tristan is on his way right now.
Oh, he's upstairs yet?
He was at another meeting
Okay.
downtown, so.
So basically, what we have is 453,000 in expenditure under
A bulk.
officials' salary.
A bulk number.
Yeah, and there's no revenue that we have as of yet to talk about it, so we'll have to get that information to have that discussion. Next one is 676, and that is juvenile diversion, and my sheet, and there's Tristan.
There he is.
There's Tristan. He did email me. I sent it off,
On juvenile.
on juvenile, yeah.
Tristan, do you want to speak at all to the adult diversion? Do you feel, or is that, because we as of yet, we don't have revenue sheets for that, so
Okay.
if, you know, I mean, we've got to have, first off, we got to have it, obviously, it's got to have revenue.
Right.
There has been stuff put in there over the last year, little bits, but we got to have a revenue and then a detailed expenditure really to know what we're talking about.
Right. Yeah, so I can talk a little on it. Gary did do the budget sheet that he submitted, but the plan is to, on the revenue side, have the grant plugged in, the COSA grant that Gary is talking about, and then also the adult diversion fees get plugged in there. And so I just have to touch base on him on what we're expecting adult diversion fee wise, but grant wise it'll be that $433,333 that will be put in there. And so besides that,
433,000?
that will be the grant.
53.
Okay, yeah, the grant, because you have 453 budgeted.
And that's where I have to ask Gary where that extra 20, what he's kind of thinking with that. I don't know if he was planning on having that before, because the grant money won't come in until like February or March-ish, so that's where I can't see exactly what he was thinking on 20,000, but for the revenue side, I know it'll be just the grant and the adult diversion fees that will be put in there.
So just like with yours,
Right,
you know, we'll need that.
yep. and-
We're in like really crunch time that we'll need that numbers so we can look and see what they are and then have the conversation as the board, you know, to say, well, what, you know, because I know we've kicked this program around, but we've never definitely said, you know, absolutely, we're going with that. So, yeah, we'll have to have that. Now, on the juvenile diversion side, we have the increase, first off, when we talked about health, you know, it's, and I don't know that anybody disagreed with me, it's my opinion that we have some cases where we want to leave health where they're at, because when we originally took on juvenile diversion, it was grant-based and it was supposed to pay the costs and stuff like that. So we want to plug those health costs into not only this one, but the call center and Visitors Bureau where they were left. So we want to plug those health insurance costs into that. And then we have this grant now of $216,660, which obviously, you know, doesn't quite double, but it's huge compared to what you were at. Is that a grant number that you feel confident you're getting?
I really don't know.
Just applied for it?
Right, just applied for it,
Okay.
first time doing federal, so I don't have too much of a inkling on the chances or where that kind of lays. I mean, they had 6 awards for that one, so I don't know exactly how competitive it is.
Okay.
It would get awarded in October, so we would know, I would think by sometime early September if we got it.
Okay.
So, Yeah, and so if I can speak on the health insurance a little from my perspective, I definitely understand where you guys are coming from. It's always been that grant funded piece, but I guess the chance to have some of that buy-in and a simple buy-in with that health insurance could be, that health insurance piece is all of it is moving, and some of that would fund program expenses and really kind of go towards just being able to use those freed up grant funds to help make sure that we're being as effective as possible.
I think to that, I understand where that's coming from. We've asked all the other departments if they moving that money out didn't automatically mean that they got that money to spend elsewhere. So that's where it gets a little tricky with the grant.
And I guess, they would have that buy-in already, so it's a little different from my perspective, but again, I understand that
Yep.
piece, making sure.
Sure.
And, the board has had the buy-in, and, obviously the 20 grand we put in last year. Now that is kind of our safety net to control that.
Right.
But I'll go back to being part of the board that decided originally to do this. Unless this board has changed their mind, we had said early on that if the grant funding went away, then we had to revisit it. And so I think everything is going good. I would prefer that it to stay that way. And, if there has to be, like it used to be, we used to have a cost share in there, and then it went to, they didn't specify that, so.
And they got rid of,
Right,
that.
right. So if that has to be in there, that's fine. But, above and beyond that, like I say, this really needs to contain that, in my opinion. If that is something that the board has to take action on, we can make it an action item. But I don't know that when I mentioned it before, there wasn't too much, conversation as far as that goes. Now, when we look at that budget, Tristan, then in the official salary and then the clerical regular salary, obviously those changed. The actual from 91,000 went down to 56, but then the officials of 45.5. Is that changing staff then too?
So last year, it was all an official salary. It should have been split up, me and Brennan, but it was me and Brennan's all together, if that makes sense. And so this splits up. I would be that official, Brennan is the, that other line item.
The clerical.
And, yeah, is the clerical. So not any staffing changes. The piece that is planned for in that is having adult diversion part of some of my hours. And so that is plugged in where I would believe it's 30 hours spent on juveniles, and then it'd be 10 hours spent on adults. So that is a piece that is part of that official salary piece.
Okay, so if we had that adult diversion budget,
Right.
we would see that split in here.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
To that point, you mentioned that Gary had turned in a budget for adult diversion. He did, but it was just 453,000.
Okay.
No breakdowns. So we need that.
I think he is working on that. I gave him line items.
Okay.
So I think he's revamping that. I just gave him copies of all the line items that we have in our expense. So you have to break it up somehow
Yep.
and let me know. Because we can add line items to the adult diversion.
Sure.
I'll make sure that all the broken down pieces are submitted to you guys by tomorrow.
I
okay.
gave the numbers to Jen.
Okay. Yep, I'll make sure that gets submitted to everyone.
And I did get your email with your thing.
Okay.
It was not in the folder.
Which is weird because I know that Kelly
Yeah,
gave me those copies, so I don't know.
I don't know. I just printed it off from your email.
Okay, perfect.
Any other questions?
Just
Go ahead.
a little bit more on that grant, the 216. Is that a pass-through, or do we use some of those funds, or is that?
Yeah, we use some of those, and I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but then there is a pretty, a large portion that is a pass-through that would be going towards mental health services.
Right.
So I can't remember off the top of my head exactly the split.
Okay.
So it'll be a sub-award to somebody else?
Correct. Some of it.
Okay. And, you know, there's tracking,
Of course.
absolutely,
Definitely.
which adds to our, because I see it's federal,
Yep.
which will add to the fact that it could bump into that single point audit costs and stuff like that too, so.
And part of that grant, if we do end up getting it, there's October to like January, February, that's all planning period. So I think with that, it'd be best to throw one or two of you commissioners in to, make sure all of the Ts are crossed and Is are dotted on from where you guys are seeing this.
Okay.
Yes. definitely.
So you think you'll have those?
The adult diversion.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay.
We'll get it to you guys tomorrow for sure.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, just so you know, obviously, we asked for a lot of stuff to be turned in back in June, and there's gonna be a point in time where if it doesn't come in, it's not happening.
Right.
And we're really close to that.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions then, gentlemen?
On that one, I don't think.
Josh, are you hanging out here for a little bit? Because we got questions for you, and if you're here, I'm gonna ask them.
Absolutely, I'm ready for any questions you might.
I know you are. Drug testing, why'd you double that?
Drug testing, I did not, I typically don't put in for that one. I'm guessing that, because I believe that fund is submitted by the county attorney's office.
The drug testing
The
was
drug testing one is.
$5,000?
Yes, typically it's $5,000.
Oh, I thought that was you that turned that one in. Okay.
So I don't turn that sheet in, but that's
went
one
from
that's
5
under
to
the county.
10.
5 to 10, yeah.
It went from 5 to 10?
Yeah,
If that's the case, then that's something that they submitted.
okay.
Yes, yeah.
Because, I mean, we've been real consistent
On
in
that,
the $3,000,
yes, correct.
$4,000.
And we utilize that for paying for the testing when it comes to DUIs.
Right.
And testing materials. So yes, so that's what that goes for.
Okay, all right. And then back to the two budgets I know you're integral in.
Yes.
First off, the sheriff's, we just got the 2 vehicles and we paid for in federal forfeiture money.
Correct.
And then there's 2 more vehicles in there.
Correct.
Is it, we're gonna switch out 4 vehicles? Because
So-
typically we've just done a couple.
So on a typical year, we need 3 vehicles. But with the 2 that we just purchased, we had to replace the one that was totaled. So we had part of that, which we will not get a complete, we'll get made, a portion of that will come back in because of insurance money. But we were intending on utilizing drug funds for, so one of the ones that we just got out of drug funds was to help replace that vehicle. And then what we'll do is we'll utilize the check that we get from the insurance company will go towards the equipment that will be needed to go and to reinstall those. Because obviously, you don't get full value back on a vehicle when one gets wrecked, and you still have to try to replace it. So that's what one of those vehicles would be. So one of the 3, so we have 4. One of them is to replace the one that was wrecked. The
Okay.
3 would be a standard, we need 3 vehicles a year. That's rotating our fleet out, essentially driving each vehicle for 5 years based on the number of officers that we have. So if we get 3 a year, that's the rotation that we're on. So drive them for 5 years and then rotate them out. And by then, typically they are miled out. We're running somewhere between 120 and 130,000. And then we're starting to see things, obviously, with the way that some of the things that we do with patrol vehicles are different than driving up and down the road. We're driving through medians at times, driving through fields at times, and things along those lines. We tend to start having a lot more maintenance issues getting to those miles.
So the two funds then, and where we're at on a lot of our funds, we're trying to keep them in that 2 to 3% increase.
Yep.
And, you know, the jail is a 6.27, the other one's 6.94.
Okay.
So what we're asking everybody to do is to try to figure out how we can get down to that smaller increase. Because obviously if all of our funds were at that 6-7%, I mean, it's just
Correct.
not sustainable,
Yep.
especially for our real bigger funds, let's put it that way. Yours isn't the biggest,
Correct.
but they're two of the bigger funds that we have. So
Right.
can we look back through that obviously again and see, and what's glaring is the vehicles,
Yep.
where we could pick up that, and if we could do, you know, I mean, there's always options to do other, I don't know if we can use any more federal forfeiture, if they'll allow us.
Yep.
Obviously, we have inheritance, we have ARPA, that we can utilize on stuff too, that would relieve it from the taxpayers, so.
Yeah.
Can we look at that and try to find some areas there?
Absolutely.
The other thing that bring up for you while you're in here, the jail, we have found out that, through the fire marshal, through this addition that we wanted to do, the fire marshal is not willing to add that addition on until we sprinkle the jail.
Okay.
And so Steve Severson, which is now with Davis Design, had looked at that for us, and they would be willing to look at the sprinkling of the jail. We're looking at somewhere between 100 and 125,000 probably to sprinkle that jail, but I mean, unless we're gonna do something different in the near future on a different jail, we probably should really look at that project and figure out how to get it up to code. And because to say we're never gonna add on to this building again when space is a premium, we just have to get it, you know, something done, so you know about that too.
And I think in the short term, just circling back a little bit on the vehicles, I think in the short term, we can go through and we can purchase another vehicle. We'll figure out, you know, the funds to be able to do it, but I would like the board in future years to start considering increasing that line item, because right now we're spending, we have about $55,000 a year budgeted. Right now, what we're spending on a vehicle, because by the time you outfit one, you're about $40,000 on the vehicle and you're about $20,000 for equipment. So we have about $180,000 is what we spend each year on 3 vehicles, which is what we need to operate year over year. So I think that's something that we can handle for this year, but moving forward, I would like to see the numbers start to increase maybe incrementally to where we could get that number closer to where we are, you know, making that budget. You know, obviously, we've always made it work. And there's always ways to make it work. You know, I would like to see that over time, maybe just start to increase up a little bit so that we could start getting it closer to where it actually covers the expense of what we're incurring.
Well, that's all gonna depend upon, you know, what we're allowed to do.
Absolutely.
You know,
I
if somebody
totally-
down in the big house down there decides
Yeah,
to put a
exactly right.
0%
That's
increase,
exactly right. We're stuck at that, and that's all we can do.
I don't know if we're gonna have to start
Yeah.
riding bikes or
Yeah,
what
well-
we're gonna do. Although,
Get your pony out.
you guys seem to be in the exemption area.
Yeah,
Public safety and health seems to be continually talked about as an exemption to that. But then it's hard to be able to go and walk around the rest of this building and say, yeah, it's fine to have 6-7% in one place and you
Correct.
can't have any.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's something we have to weigh as a
We-
possibility
we will
too.
absolutely do what we can to make sure that we get that number. We'll move it down a little bit.
Do we see wages? You know, we were playing catch up and undoubtedly we're probably continuing to play catch up. But do we see making headway at that to where that will start relieving itself too?
I think we're getting closer for sure. So, you know, I've talked to a couple of you guys about, we did just a kind of an informal wage study where we had some information come in from about 20 different departments that were, I tried to go 10 up and 10 down from the size of our county, and then I also threw in a couple of police departments that were similar to the size of York. So I just went through and said, okay, how many of you guys are willing? I think we sent out 30 and we got about a 50% response back on people with wages. And so what we were asking for was, we were not asking for, when we looked at the wages for this year, we're trying to be somewhere, we obviously aren't asking for the top wages. We're not trying to get our guys to where, we're just trying to be where we're in that 50, 60th percentile so that we can retain people because of how much it costs to go through and to try to continuously train and continuously rehire, and plus overtime fees and everything else. We're just now finally getting to the point where we're getting back to full staff, and we'd like to start focusing on retention, retaining the good employees that we have. We believe that we've got quality staff, we believe we've got good people, and the market out there is driving what's going on today. And unfortunately, I know it's difficult. It's hard to come in here and to ask for a lot of money, but I also want to go through, and I do want to go through and provide a quality service to the people of York, and not have to go through and consistently be hiring over and over and over again.
So we're getting closer,
Get closer, for sure.
getting closer. And we'll never get there.
No, and I don't
we just-
fully intend, our people, I don't think that we'll ever make the top wage, but it needs to be competitive.
You're right.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and the Nebraska Department of Labor was out here just a couple weeks ago. And, there was, I know Cheryl had went in and sat in on that meeting, and others were there too, maybe a dozen people from around town. And one thing that they found was we were in the 48 of 93 counties, so right about in the middle with our wages.
Yep.
And that's done not off of a survey, but I guess it's done off of unemployment.
Okay.
Is how it's done. So it's a fairly accurate number. So we seem to be sitting in that area as a whole, not just as a government entity, but as a whole, county whole. So.
Right.
Okay, did anybody else have any questions of Josh?
I'll just make a comment though, that more than one of them has commented to me that wages are fine, but when you take the insurance out, and I told you that, but that's another retention thing. It's a lot easier to retain people than it is to train people.
You're right.
Isn't it? It makes your day easier.
It
doesn't it?
absolutely is. And I know that you guys have seen some of our time cards. It hasn't been pretty. As functionally, over the summer, I was on shift and going through, and this is not the complaint session, I was functionally working shift and trying to do the duties of what was happening in the office. That leads to a lot of overtime.
Mm-hmm.
And, I would definitely prefer to have, more staff to be able to go through and to take some of those hours and work some of those. And our guys have been more than accommodating in working overtime shifts. We've had tons that have stepped up and volunteered. I'm not the only one. It's been our department as a whole going through and stepping up to the plate. But it does become taxing on our people after a while, just going through and working, shift after shift after shift, and not having a few days off here and there. So, but we appreciate all you guys are doing for us, and working with us on this, trying to get us to the point where we're not in a consistent hiring status.
Okay. None others. We are 12:20. We are into the bottom third. Do you want to just power through?
Yeah.
Let's power through.
There's a meeting I want to go to at 1 o'clock, so. The one at the library.
Okay. Okay, so child support agreement, county attorney.
Oh, yeah, there's no,
I have-
Thank you.
yeah, there wasn't anything requested, but if we've got funds in that fund, we probably should,
We should put that in there.
The net fund balance.
Right.
We'll put, all these will be the
Okay.
same way.
Okay.
They'll have the net fund balance that we'll push it over, and then we'll budget to zero out.
Okay.
Oh, is that why that one's zero?
Right, yeah, it just didn't get,
Okay.
Net fund balance. Okay.
Okay.
It's like, they
So-
spent some money.
The next two, which is is,
Visitors?
Oh, yeah, visitors.
Yeah.
Is this another net fund balance deal?
Yep.
Why that's so high?
Right.
So,
okay,
Has a
yep,
nice big
and the
budget,
95
doesn't spend it.
fund. Okay, so visitors in promotion, same way, you know, they get 4% at all the lodging, and they get split 2 and 2, and then it just gets funded to spend it completely out. So there's no tax dollars in there, but there was, the authority comes from us. The promotion is money that they, as far as the visitor promotion can spend. The improvement is what we say yes or no to improvements and stuff like that, like capital improvements is how those funds are run. Okay? Reappraisal sinking fund, and that is, you know, Kurt
that is
and
Curtis,
paying for
yes.
that, or the assessor, not just Kurt. Rod and preservation,
That's
that will
our
be-
net fund balance, that would be our net fund balance, wouldn't it?
that will be under your hat
Mm-hmm.
and going that way. Employment Security Act. Net fund balance likewise.
Which one?
That's,
1,200.
that's for like unemployment
Yeah, I think
payments.
we've always did that. It's been consistent
Mhm,
at 35.2
mhm.
for the last few years.
And the 1275 is zero. Area on Aging, and this is Lori's second fund.
It's a negative.
Come on, talk to me. Yep. And that is
Probably insurance.
funds that, you know, obviously her staff, the way she splits her staff up and her time up. And then there's other tax dollars come in, from the state and stuff to help fund that. And then we also make, quarterly payments to fund that one also.
What's her official's salary? There's never been one, now it's 25,823 or less.
Yeah, she moved it
First
from
line.
admin reg time to official. I'm
100.
not sure why, but
Oh, 100,835, that's the general fund, so she has, that's Handy Bus, and then she has aging services out of the 1,300.
Right, that's
So
what I'm looking at.
she splits her time between the
She's-
two.
Um,
So this last year, there was a difference
There
in
was-
split
Okay.
where she was out of the other one, and now
Yeah.
it's split between the two.
I
she-
got you.
Yeah, her wage.
Oh, I
is
see,
split
in
between-
the other one, it's zero. And it was the bigger amount, okay. She's flipped it from one to the other. From official, from administrative to officials.
Okay, and then the next one is county relief and medical. This is one that obviously we just dealt with today.
I was gonna say, that's $2,000.
A little bit, so, and that one stayed pretty consistent. Excuse me. State institutions. Those are what they are.
Oh, boy.
And those numbers vary to Norfolk and Lincoln and Beatrice.
That's
And-
who has been.
And Veterans Aid. At one time, we talked about getting this one up to, and leaving it at 30. It rarely gets used. A lot of times Nick has a way of other monies to help, you know, and so this one doesn't get used as much. So that 2,000,
Did you ask him
But
about
did
that?
we,
or say anything?
And I put it in Veterans Aid. I don't know.
should that, Should there be a net fund balance that is
Should be.
included with
There
that?
should
Yeah.
be,
Okay, that's what I thought.
but that would be on the revenue side. It wouldn't be on,
Well, but,
Oh, I see.
there's
I see
funds
Should
what
in
be
you're
there that we need,
expense too.
Mhm.
that if we don't put in there, we won't have authority
Have
to
a-
spend.
Well, and then all he gave me was this, and he put $2,000 there. So I
Right,
did
yeah.
put it in the Veterans Aid line. I don't know if I should put that $2,000.
So 1,200.
So there's
Somewhere.
previous money that is
Yeah.
sitting in the account?
She's saying, is that 1,900?
Yeah,
She's saying, Jill's saying she fixed it.
okay.
Oh, she did. Okay, good.
Mhm.
Thanks,
Thank you, Jill.
Thanks.
Oh, she's answering you on her.
She's texting me.
Amazing.
And then she also, I just caught, she asked something about the 1150 fund. 1150 fund, are they going to budget any revenue?
And we'll have to look at the revenue and see if I thought Kelly did. I must
For
know.
Rod, is that where we're going?
Yep.
For the 1150, it's Rod, okay.
So we might want to look at that.
50 revenue.
Okay?
1,900 put in the net fund balance.
And she's saying these are ones that are, typically there's 10,000 budgeted.
Okay.
And these are things that we haven't fixed yet. Okay?
Handy bus.
We're by it, are we?
It's a Busy
sorry,
Wheels,
Busy Wheels.
Busy Wheels handy bus.
All right, sorry.
2,200.
22.
This is just the equipment.
And the most, that went to zero. Because it went elsewhere.
And so, yeah, is there
Where'd it
there's
go?
probably a balance in that account, would be my guess.
Revenue, net fund balance was 12,722.34 on that.
Well, when people text me for a group text, and I'm not a part of that group, and somehow they got my.
So would that need to be,
We're going golfing.
But-
Saturday, man.
yeah. And I'm guessing she
A
fixed
bunch of old
it. She
ladies.
fixed it. She's in real time.
yeah,
Thank
that's
Thank you.
good.
Okay, so here we go again.
Opioid.
Opioid recovery, that's what we have left? No. Yes, it
That's
is.
what our,
We shouldn't have dropped
balance
below 50. I wouldn't. Did we buy
Well-
something already?
No, this is the opioid.
this is.
Oh,
We haven't
okay,
spent
sorry.
anything out of here.
No, all right.
OATCF,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's something, that, yes.
Mhm.
And there's more money coming into opioid.
Right.
And that was a Megan.
Yeah, exactly.
That's probably where we can pull a bunch of that drug testing.
Revenue.
I wonder, maybe.
Stuff.
There are
There's
some
some pretty strict.
limitations of what we can,
Really?
because I had contacted not only the sheriff's department, but, you know, hospital or different, because because we've been getting these monies in, can anybody use them, and nobody,
Right.
and so I'm guessing that if there's a way we could incorporate those into juvenile diversion
Right.
or
Yeah.
adult, I mean, that
We
because
could-
of that,
right.
that they could be monies, funds, 50,000 sitting there. Okay, stop
Stop
program,
program is probably another one that got
Net
fixed.
fund balance. Make sure that is happening.
As well as drug law enforcement, would be my guess.
yeah, because stop program had 14,355.64, and I'm guessing that we will get all that
Mhm.
straightened away. What did you go there for? Interesting. By the expense. Drug law enforcement, same way. Drug court, did we get numbers in from drug court?
Yes, we did. We got the revenue in. She just emailed me the revenue.
Okay.
Didn't email me a budget,
So the-
just the revenue.
Okay. So we should be able to plug the revenue on top of the net fund balance, 457261
Correct.
for that expenditure.
Correct.
People pay to be part of the drug court, and we used to have it in the 100 fund under miscellaneous, but then in the 100 fund, it's kind of gets swept away because we start fresh. So we started a new fund that way that they have those funds, and they can do celebratory things, you know, like awards for them making it through the program, or they can do training and different things like that with those funds. And those aren't taxpayer based, those are individual that uses them. Okay, and we are, drug law sheriff, that's the one that got the big chunk in. What are you looking at?
Oh, your screen looks different than mine.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Is
On
it
which
better,
one?
isn't
It,
it?
yeah.
This is the revenue.
I've got requested
You on the
budget
expense or revenue?
flows.
You might be on expenses.
I'm on the expenses. Rick.
You want-
Leroy has
you
a
want
copy
the-
of
You want the
revenue.
total, you got the total page? Is that it?
So this is what you want to see?
No, sorry, I'm on the expense side.
Not
Yeah,
the,
Like
I
that,
just gave
right
you
there?
is that
copies
the one
of-
you want? Look
Yeah.
look at it, Mary.
Okay, sorry.
That's
I've been
okay.
bouncing back and
Right.
forth
No,
between
you're
both of
fine.
them.
I just was like, well, what
Wait
is?
a minute.
Yeah.
So they budgeted nothing, but they have
Hmm?
661,000.
So the county attorney wants to, okay, which one are you talking
He's
about?
back on 40,
660,
2410.
yeah. Is that the
so-
one you're on?
Well, he's moved on, but, the drug law enforcement, this is the forfeiture money that the
Yeah.
sheriff
Yeah.
gets.
So both the sheriff and the county attorney share on the forfeiture money,
Oh, I didn't know.
and they can only budget what is held at the first of the year. They can't budget on what comes in.
Oh.
So their net fund balance is their budget for the year,
Yeah.
and they'll budget it to spend it completely.
Throughout the year.
Yes. They won't spend it completely, but that's what
Yeah,
they'll budget.
right.
Justice fund sheriff, same way, net fund balance. County
Good.
attorney,
I can't believe how much drug money is helping.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
2580 is the COVID
amazing.
rescue plan. That will just be to budget the net fund balance,
Yep.
and we'll have to get in on that. And that money needs to be guided by the end of the year.
Guided,
Guided.
assigned,
Right.
Yes,
assigned.
yes. So, and.
Do we want?
Probably should reach out to NACO to make sure the terminology of what is guided.
What is end of year?
Right.
Yeah, well,
Is it June or is it December?
no, end of year is end of this year, but it has
Okay.
to be earmarked for expenditures and then spent by 2026.
Yep.
So we have to decide, okay, we're gonna paint the walls,
I-
and then that's where that money gets
I don't think that it has to be under bid, but it has to be,
designated
Yes.
to, okay.
So on 2580, I mean, we'll spend it all. Contractual services we had in there for Zelle. I don't know if we want to put that line item back in there for this year.
we can. We can.
Do we wanna put the same amount, 54?
Yeah.
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 Okay, LATCF, that is the other 52,709.65, buying our computers and
Yep.
data processing needs.
I think this year we need to be a little bit, and I don't know if now's the time to talk about it. We need to have a plan on how we're going to bid
Yes,
technology hardware. And then also last year, we kind of just let it slide. We spent way more than what we had requested at this point in time.
absolutely.
And we worked through it, but I think we need to be, unless it's an emergency, we need to be a little bit stricter on,
Cause we have
oh,
52,709.
It's one of those things where you just, seems like you beat your head against the wall.
right.
Because you ask for that information during budget time, it doesn't come in, you know, we've asked in the past to inventory all your
Yep.
stuff, so you have a good idea if if computer's gonna last 4 years, you know they're coming, and it doesn't happen. And then when we're down and out, we're down and out. I agree. Okay,
You might make your meeting.
I'm gonna go late, because I'm gonna eat.
debt service is that's the fund that these back taxes have been coming in. We'll budget $500 into that one, for any possible back taxes come in that we have to come across. The 2605, which is Community Development Block Grant, we will have $355,000 for Four Corners that we'll have to budget. And then the remainder of that is for the owner-occupied rehab. And we need to get that number if we can. I know that he said 103, but
Yes.
there's no way there's that much left in it. I mean, it just can't be.
From my little spreadsheet that I've been doing, there was more money in there. I thought there was more money,
He,
so.
when he was here
But are
just a
we
couple weeks
taking the
ago,
355 out of that?
355 will be for Four Corners, and that needs to be in there, separate. That will be that grant that's waiting for Four Corners.
Okay.
The other is finishing up in, oh darn it, what was his name?
I know, I can't, I can
Brent,
see
Ryan,
him.
Ryan.
It might be
Ryan,
I think
he
so.
said that we're, middle of August, it was done.
Because
So we just need to
We
check with him
budgeted-
again.
for 605 in 2023, and we only spent 63. How did we budget that much and only spent that much and have $100,000 left?
Well, once again, 355 was the one, I'm not sure. And that's, I mean, so we gotta hone
Because
in.
I
on-
went through my spreadsheet from this.
Well, the 355 didn't happen.
No.
So
the
that's out of there
355,
right
yeah.
away.
Okay.
Okay,
So put the
so-
355 in,
We need to get a firm number on that if we can get one.
for the Four Corners, but for sure the
2605.
355 for the Four Corners.
Yes,
in
no
there.
doubt on that one. Plus,
Yep.
whatever it takes to finish the owner-occupied rehab. Okay.
You tried sucking that money back to Lincoln too.
Last year I had asked for the Four Corners, and I think there was one other in there. Yep. Okay, inheritance tax, we budgeted, well, okay, so we're budgeting, and, you know, 500,000 to come into inheritance. That's what we've been doing for
Right.
the last several
Yep.
years. So these are the pieces here now, guys, that we pay out of here, that we don't have to, but we decide to. These are the requested amounts. Like Adopt a Pet, this is on 2,700, 45,000 for CASA.
Is that on a different page, Randy? 'Cause I'm to the
Page
end of what
68.
you showed me.
68.
Oh, yeah, no, this is, on your paper.
Expense, this is on your expense.
Page 68, I got it. Oh, yeah.
So is everybody okay with those numbers? The Henderson ambulance, we've got to kick in there yet, or
Yeah,
are we
I don't-
moving that?
Yeah, we did.
I don't think are they supposed to request?
Yeah, and they didn't,
I don't believe they did.
so I don't know.
I don't believe that they did.
Okay.
Hope,
So,
child,
Hope Crisis?
Hope Crisis.
crisis, thank you, Senator,
Uh-huh.
thank you. She's
CASA.
good.
Are we okay with all those numbers? I mean, that's an
I-
increase to CASA.
Right.
Should I check into Henderson?
That'd be fine.
Last year, we cut all of these, including the next ones on the next page.
I can tell you that all of these, any of these that are getting funding and getting grants from other places, they've all been cut.
Mhm.
A whole grant that CASA always got from the state, and it was split amongst the state, is
Yep.
gone.
Right.
None of the costs are getting it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's the way, I don't know if grants are drying up for a reason or what, but it's, I've been in other groups where they're just gone.
Right.
So I hope our money keeps coming to the county, you know what I mean?
And that, I mean, there's only one way that we get to keep money
Yeah.
coming, and then that's tax the, tax the
That
residents.
dirty word.
And this is obviously out of the inheritance, so this doesn't go to
Right,
property
right,
taxes.
right, I know.
But in the event that they
Still-
get rid of inheritance,
Yep.
like they tried this year, then
Mhm.
those harder decisions will come, down the line. So,
I do know that Blue Valley and Casa, those two I know for sure will appreciate every penny they get.
Right.
well, no doubt, everybody does.
Yeah.
Now, the one in there is York Adopt-A-Vet. We are obligated to have, either do it ourselves or pay somebody to do it for us. So in that one, we don't have really a lot of choice on that one. And that's a minor number compared to if we start having to have our sheriffs running around picking up dogs and
Right.
different things like that all over the county.
I think that these, I don't know if I'm prepared to throw a number out there, but I don't know that I'm prepared to say, let's leave them where they requested.
Okay. On those.
On those, the next 3 pages.
Okay. So the next one's City Library, and then after that it's Development Corp. And Southeast District. Okay. Any comments on those? Okay. We'll leave them in there as they are right now.
Correct, yep.
Okay, so next is, past that, and then we're on to 2910, which I'm gonna do some work on this budget this next week also. We know for sure that the official salary will be 70 even, but we need to get that health dump back in there and then look at some of the other things also in that fund. And then not only that, but with the 2910, the 2913, 2914, 2913 is the money we get in from Public Service Commission, and then on the legacy funds, we used to put the extra, or had to put some into 2914. Now we have to spend 2914 down, so that'll be my homework to get those all figured out over the next 2 weeks.
Visitors, you said visitors, promotion or improvement.
Improvement and promotion.
That has to have the health insurance back in.
Yes, yeah, we want the health
And
insurance in
JD
those.
back in.
Yes. Well, obviously, there was a request that we do not.
Mhm. Do we want to keep the JV
I think so.
out or put it back in?
I think.
I would say put it back in,
Okay.
let the grant fund it.
I agree.
Okay, so up next is emergency manager. Gary was here with us for a while. This is one that we split with Seward,
It just
And-
seems to keep going down a little bit.
and we do half of it. They nicked him. Seward was doing some cutting over there, so then we just do half of that.
I mean, it's 200,000 to cut.
Not 2915.
He's requested a safe room for aging
Oh,
services.
2910, sorry.
Yeah,
Because they don't have a basement.
right.
And then hazard mitigation plan update as well.
We were trying to go for some grant funding on that.
Mitigation or
No,
the aging services.
yeah, aging services.
That's what I need is a safe room.
There's Gare.
Ah,
Hey, Gary.
Did you hear us
Hey.
talking about you?
Yeah, my ears hurt.
Your ears hurt.
They shouldn't hurt too bad.
They hurt a lot though. It's not you guys. So.
They're looking at 2915.
That's him.
That'd be me.
I know.
That's him. So what did you say there's a request?
Yeah, there's.
Is that in here?
No.
Okay.
No,
For
it's
the-
just a little piece of paper.
Like a safe room?
Yes.
Well, you know, that's
We're
something we
still
discussed.
asking,
You know, if we want to pursue that and try and get a 75% cost share of that grant, you know, for that safe room, I can try that again and see. You know, it's gonna wind up costing.
but there was nothing there haven't we done that a couple
Well,
times
we
now?
tried, but the staff they had at NEMA that time wasn't very helpful. Now they've got new people down there, which are a lot more helpful, I think, but doing these grants.
Okay,
And I think we got a better chance, but there's a lot into it. You know, I can put another notice of interest in, and all that says is we're thinking about it, and we don't have to do anything if they approve that notice of interest, and then we make an application after that. But the cost, you know, the county cost, if we do get a grant, is probably gonna be, you know, probably $5,000, I'm guessing, out of a $20,000 project.
right. And if we was just to, because I've forgotten all about this one, Gary. I mean, we have that every place else. You know, we have the safe rooms at the fairgrounds, or
Yeah.
called fairgrounds, in between extension and probation.
Yeah.
We have it at the roads department.
Right.
We have obviously here downstairs. We really probably need to get something done up there.
Again,
Even if we
not-
just did it ourselves, we probably.
Even though people have said, well, I'm not gonna go in that thing, you know, but, you know, they'd just take off probably, so, but,
Where's that at, Randy?
Aging
They will
service.
Aging
if
service.
they
Division
don't
Avenue.
have time to get the heck out of
We
here.
don't
Where are
have,
they gonna take off for?
well, you know, we've just put up one in Seward there outside the building where I'm in Seward. And people say, they don't wanna go in that thing. Well, you know, you're in a tin building otherwise, you know.
I'm guessing if
So-
really push comes to shove. they'll-
You know, it depends on how much warning you have, you know, if you have
Right.
plenty of warning, I imagine people are gonna,
Did you guys do your own over there?
yeah, they just paid for them. And that was a bigger one than what these were, but that one ran about 40,000, kind of so. but
Oh,
they-
really?
Yeah, they kinda got hooked on the concrete though, I think, but
Okay.
that's my opinion.
So somebody comes in, lays down the concrete, and then they put the building on
Yeah,
top of
It's-
it?
it's anchored to
Specs.
that, yes.
Okay.
We had a program, and that's been 4 or 5 years ago, that the whole county was eligible to
Yeah.
get those.
And that was so much easier than trying to get one now. I mean,
You know, and there started out maybe 20, I mean, I participated in it, and there was maybe
There's
20 of
21
us at the initial meeting, but not even half ended up doing it.
no, there was 21 approved, only 7 followed through with it.
Right.
Wow.
which was disappointing,
Very
because-
disappointing.
And you know, that's right after the 2014 tornadoes down at Beaver Crossing. And we ended up only having one person in Beaver Crossing do it, you know, nobody else in Seward County did it.
Yeah,
They paid for 75%.
they
you
did.
know, It was for homeowners and small businesses.
Yep.
But
So.
like I say, that one was easier to do than what trying to do one now is. I don't understand why.
Okay. Well, like I say, I think we need to proceed down that road
Yeah.
regardless.
I'll do it again and then just see where we go from there.
and
And like I
then-
say, you're not committed to anything.
Okay,
You're just saying we may possibly do something, and if they approve it, then we make an application.
okay. Nothing else on yours, was there, on your?
No, just the dues and registrations, you know, what comes out of there is the mass notification system. So that's why that's higher. And then also there's like $500 mutual aid dues, so that accounts for 4,000 that amount, so just.
Okay.
Oh, and the only other thing is, you know, that $1,000, put that in there, we put that in that account.
That income,
Yep,
that, well, you won,
yeah.
your
It was a door price
winnings.
thing with $1,000, but, you know, it goes to the county. So, I
And
may
then, so you
possibly
just
buy-
put that under radio equipment?
Radio
Yeah.
equipment.
that's what I'll possibly spend that on, so.
Okay, Well, does it need to be, if it's stuck in a sinking fund, we just make sure we have to budget it to spend it. Sometimes when we talk about sinking funds,
Right,
aren't they?
there-
That's a,
there's something
like
different,
that's,
huh?
yeah, so we'll make sure, maybe we put that just in office. Do you think you're gonna spend it on radios this year?
Possibly,
We'll add-
yeah.
we'll add-
It
Jill's-
ain't gonna get, it might get a couple or one or two, because they're.
Jill's listening, so we'll make sure we get that in the perfect spot that we can spend it, expend it,
All right.
okay? Aren't we so much easier to get along with than them Seward County
I
Commissioners?
can't confirm or deny that.
Yeah, you can't, huh? Can't do that.
No.
They might be
I was
watching.
gonna say, they might be online.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say it for you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right. So then we have that one, 2940 zero, 2960, 3700.
Is that,
The payments.
right, so we need
Mhm.
figures
We
in
need
there.
some numbers for that
Yep.
one.
There, I mean, we have that autumn is, I'm not gonna say the word right, sorry.
Principal and interest.
Yes.
Amortization.
I was gonna, there you go.
I don't
Spit
say
it
that,
out.
I just say interest and principal.
Okay. And then, she said I fixed 3700.
Okay, she got it in, okay.
30,
Okay.
okay. So what's the difference between 3,700 and, oh, never mind, 37,705 and 900, okay, got it.
We're good, everything good?
Yep,
3700 is the projects.
yep,
And there was like $900 left
okay.
that we're gonna transfer into the payment,
Mm,
into the,
Okay.
30, whatever it is, 3700. Transfer that 900 from there
Yep.
back into that. It's just a little bit on the payment, but it'll help with that a little bit. Highway allocation, 4601.
We
Noxious
still
weed.
have
So
like
does that
$900 in the 4601.
That's the one I'm
That's
talking
the
about, we're
one
gonna
that's going,
transfer
okay,
back
good,
out. yeah.
okay.
And then, of course, ambulance, that's our agreement with the city of York to provide ambulance service where there is none in the county, and then we pay those property taxes where there is none is who pays that fee. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, I don't know, do you get serviced?
I'm in York District.
York District, so if you happen to be in a district where York McCool, nobody takes care of you, then the city is part of it. Okay. Nothing there, and that's to the end.
sweet.
Way to hang with us, Melanie.
Well, that's my favorite time of year.
Is it?
Yeah, this and gravel
Where's
bids.
my stapler at?
Gravel bits.
Gravel bids. Okay, so talking through the next 2 weeks, you guys will handle 300. We talked to Josh. We'll deal with some other, I think the budget committee will deal with, visiting with the others. Mary, what did Kurt turn in?
I think this was just from what he, yeah.
Okay.
What he had
What he had
turned in.
originally sent us. Okay, all right.
No, we might have revisions.
No, he redid it.
Yeah, I think
He
did.
redid it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody feel a need to do a special budget workshop session?
I don't think so. We'll put it on the agenda again in 2 weeks.
Yes.
And are
Yes.
you figuring, I mean, I guess, yeah.
Now, we'll have time yet to deal with it yet at the first meeting in September also. So
we
we,
can't, yeah, when is it that we can pass it now? You can't pass it until,
we can pass it. we can
Unless-
pass, we can pass it at any time, it's just that if we go over and have that postcard,
Yep.
it seems awful funny that,
Well, I
well,
think
we
that
already passed our
changed.
budget
I
because,
think that changed.
I don't know that it
I
did.
thought they changed it that it has to be held prior to budget adoption.
Could be then.
You're
Where
gonna
did I
make me
read
get
that?
my
I
notes
that
out
could
from
be.
the,
Because it never had any teeth before.
Correct, exactly.
That we could pass it, but we
Yep.
gotta go through this postcard bill and, yeah, so. And then Kurt's numbers will be certified
paper fly.
the 20th of this month. And then we'll know more of where we're at mill levy wise. You know, she should be able to plug those numbers in and see where we're at on all that. I would still like to, at some point in time, have just a session where people could come in
Yeah.
and
Yep.
visit
Yep.
and talk about that. And obviously, we're running out of time
So,
to do that.
Yeah, so when would you wanna do that?
Well, I'm not sure.
Do you want anything about the budget on the August 20th?
Oh, absolutely, budget workshop on August 20th, yeah.
Beginning to balance 2.5.
You're out of commission now.
21st.
After that.
21st, I'm out of commission, and, you know, my plan would be to be back for the meeting the 3rd, but, you know, there's gonna be a week in there where I'm sure it's gonna be not as much fun. At least a couple days,
Right.
where narcotics will be a welcome addition.
Would we want to do?
Well, I was wondering about the 19th.
I was just
I
gonna
got
say, what
September
about
1,
before
I had
that?
September 1 written down for some reason.
19th, the day
That's a
before,
When's our
Sunday.
next Board of Commissioners meeting?
the 20th.
Oh, good.
Today's the 6th.
And then the day after is when I'll have the knee replaced, the 21st. And then the 3rd is our next one. So I would assume that adoption, you know, would, depending on where we're at.
Be on the 3rd?
Yeah, I mean, if we, you know, we have the authority or option to adjust our budget, our inheritance and stuff like that
Sure.
to avoid, and then we wouldn't have to worry about, you know, certain things. So it'd be nice to see the numbers as they come in.
I wonder when Jill's here next week, if she'll maybe have, well, we don't really, we'll know a property, we could probably figure out a property tax number. We can't figure out a levy until we get,
We can be close.
yeah.
I know
When
Kurt,
does Kurt have to have, he has to have
20th.
that by the 20th.
20th.
Yeah,
By the
so maybe
20th.
by,
he'll have a good idea.
Yeah.
if
I
she
mean,
comes next.
Ann never wanted to give us that number ahead of time,
You
but
guys, I talked.
they have a good idea.
I talked to the guy, the gentleman that works with me, who's
Daryl,
Daryl. He said they had everything done and out, and that was a good feeling.
Oh, the
As far as
protest,
all
yeah,
the Valuations and all that kind of stuff.
yes.
I asked him,
So
how's it going in
maybe
that
shoot for the 19th? Now,
I
that wouldn't
wonder.
be a meeting, an advertised board meeting,
Right.
you know, because as long as, I mean, once again, we can be at places.
Yep.
We just can't take any action or do anything like that, so, a couple of us presenting is fine, and others can be there
Right.
so that would be my idea of it, not to have a
Okay.
meeting,
Right.
but just to invite the public in to say,
on
this,
August 19th.
this is our process, this is what we've been through, these are the numbers we're looking at, any questions?
Okay. And you're saying this 19th?
Not
This-
19th of August.
Where at?
Well, it would be here in the basement.
What time?
We
I'm
don't know
not
yet.
sure, we're just talking. It wouldn't be a
We
meeting,
haven't said,
It would
we haven't
it
put
just-
anything in
It would just
stone
be
yet.
like a public,
it'd be an educational for the public.
yeah,
Gotcha.
just to tell them what our budget process is at
Good,
the
then I don't
moment.
have to talk.
Pretty much, you know, last year with the postcard
Zoning
deal.
meeting, you not show up.
Why do you think I'm asking all these questions? I can put in my phone. And I did find the email that Randy sent the week before to remind us.
Okay,
when I was deleting today and I deleted the wrong one.
so we'll talk about that some more too. Everybody, okay, we didn't do committee reports. Does anybody have anything to report? I talked
Actually, I think
to,
that's my next Blue Valley meeting's up.
Nick doesn't have a secretary yet.
No.
He's only had one person even apply, I think. And I am constantly getting emails from Region 5 that they are trying to get their lobbyists to convince them not to take $13 million away, or $15 million away from a group where their portion of having to cut back would be $3 million. That's a lot. Yep. But it's the only two things I have. There's been several people trying to do stuff. Some senators introduced bills. They had over 90 bills introduced in a special session. And a lot of them didn't even gain traction. They died the first day they tried to even talk about it. Nobody was for it, so they were like, no, you're out.
Yeah, I think this, anyway, what I found was that joint public hearings shall be held on or after September 17 and prior to September 29 and before any participating public political subdivision. It used to be file their adopted budget, and now it's changed to adopt their budget statement. So I think they did change that to,
Okay.
if you have to participate, you can't pass it till after you've had that.
That's okay, isn't it?
Good to know.
so we will know more here in a couple of weeks. Okay. Does anybody else have any committee reports? I know we have, this week, there's 5 applicants. There's 5 applicants for the visitors. So
Oh, good.
those interviews are end of the week for Visitors Bureau.
Okay.
So hopefully a qualified candidate comes up for that. We briefly touched on the jail a little bit about that project. I think that it's probably something that we should probably look forward in doing. The other thing will be is, you know, if that is something that we do in an expense, we're still looking at about $500,000 of that ARPA funding that we, you know, need to point in the right direction. We had talked about some paving projects local, you know, that some of our paving responsibilities are, because I know he mentioned out there in front of the shop, we have the out off of not Nobes. Yes, off
Yeah,
of Nobes,
Country Club
that
Nobes.
small piece out there and different pieces like that we've talked about in the past. So, you know, we just need to hone in on what we want to do and take care of. Beyond that, it's been budget, nothing really else, I guess. Just seems like a lot of it. Well, we had this appointment process that we've been dealing with,
Yeah.
and
Dang it.
we're
that's-
sitting on pins and needles whether that's gonna pan out or
So
not.
who gets to hire the person to replace her?
Oh,
She
to
does.
replace
Oh,
my
that's her.
AP
That's
job?
her.
I'm telling you
Yeah.
that, I'm asking them so that you
Oh.
know. That's your job.
No, that would be my job.
See how I did that?
We will get a contract
Perfect.
to her, an edited contract, and then we'll go from there.
Well, thank you guys for
And then you
giving
will,
me this opportunity. I mean, I at least have, what, 90 days of being you? Or do I have a
9.
year and a half? of
No, it's
being
9.
9 days.
you? 90?
9.
Give me at least 6 months. Someone knew I didn't know.
9 days.
I knew.
You have your
Where you
days
going
lined
at
up by
now?
then. You don't even get 2 meetings.
because you used the 6 years
I
as
know.
experience
Oh,
to,
yeah,
you
exactly.
kinda threw
I
that out
threw
there,
that- I
so
threw myself under the bus on that
kinda
one.
did away with that new
Are
one.
we adjourned?
We can be, yes.
At 1:06.
Thank you, everybody.